The barefoot wonder with an 8-yard touchdown reception. And the Bills are back in front.
Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen completed 19 passes on 25 attempts for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. They are next in action on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock when they'll host the Tennessee.
An Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Muncie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Got to shoot Derek out of the studio. I love that. He's just like, dude, we're starting the show.
He was looking at me asking if he could come in. I said yes.
Yes, we knew we went over all this. Derek's welcome to stop in, but
Welcome to the sports bar.
Yeah, welcome to Stop Talking Shop. Good afternoon. Danger's golfing today, so we have Tim Schneider in. Of course, it's Gino here and you, 866-4326, Rochester's only daily local sports talk show. Tim, we're the last one standing, buddy.
We are.
In
at least
fact,
of
I
the
would
survivors.
say, like in terms of afternoon talk, where else, you're glad you're here, right?
Love
Today, we got a lot. We're not short on content today. No, of course not. We got great guests here too. Coming up at the bottom of the hour. Let's set the table. We've got Dan Fates from Buffalo Plus and 13 Wham. As the Bills making another roster move today, which Tim and I will get to here in a little bit. What does this mean? Perhaps coming up, we will talk to Dan Fates about the Cooper trade. And, there's a game to be played against the Titans. Do we have anything to worry about here? Personally, me, no. I will listen to anybody say that the Titans, they do a good job on the defensive line, and that's going to keep the score down and blah, blah, blah. I just don't see Will Levis keeping up point for point with Josh Allen, and the turnovers will start to flow. That's the way I kind of read this, especially with the Bills' defense getting healthier. We'll talk to Dan Fates coming up at 3:25. 4 o'clock hour today, our buddy Jim Riley, Rochester native Jim Riley, who is from Ball Cap Sports, and you hear his Barreled Up podcast talking in the Odyssey app as we will be talking some baseball here today. And are these series done? You have a Met fan in studio. You have a Guardian fan in studio. We will explore that coming up today. Also, we should talk about what Jim, the heck are the Tampa Bay Rays going to do? Like, honestly, they are homeless. And we just got done with this whole A's mess, or did we get done with the A's mess? That's still, Players Association has to sign off on that, but could we have two teams playing in minor league ballparks coming up?
The Oakland Rays. How about that?
That would be fun. That would be brass. The Major League Baseball will never allow it. We'll talk to Jim Riley coming up at the 4 o'clock hour. 5:05 today because Coach has dinner tonight. We'll be talking to Wayne Wilson as it is hockey season, and you could say it's the home opener for the RIT Tigers, but it's going to be downtown. It's going to be the annual Brick City game taking on BGSU, Bowling Green State University. So we'll talk to Coach. The Tigers off to a 2-2 start. Plenty of time for your calls, 866-4326. As Chris wrote in yesterday, hey, you didn't read my tweets. Okay, honestly, here's the thing, because I don't have Twitter on this, so I'm not going to let everybody be forewarned. If you want to participate in the show today, Tim is here. Danger's not here. I don't have X up on my computer screen.
I have it, but it's not the Fan Rochester one. I was stripped of that somehow over the last 8 months, so you'll have to tweet Gene or I directly.
You didn't get the email.
No, I did not, no.
No, you should have been on the email. Like literally, you have to go through training and everything else because who knows? Like,
okay, well, train me and I'll be able to do
it's
it.
like it's
it's
a whole rigmarole there, and the same thing with me too. So for anybody that wants to participate today, hey, I can't guarantee I'm going to see your tweet right away. Give us a call at 866-4FAN 866-4326. The table is set. We should start with the Buffalo Bills. And a name I didn't have on my bingo card we'd be talking about today. In fact, I never heard of this guy, Lucas Havrasik, who is the new kicker on the practice squad for the Buffalo Bills. I hate being right, Tim. It's just such a burden being right.
It sucks to be right all the time, doesn't it?
Look, it's going to be painful for Danger tomorrow when he comes back, as I pulled up audio, and it's on social right now. July 17th, I predicted exactly what would happen. I said the Mets would sneak in as the 6. They would beat Milwaukee, then they would beat Philadelphia, and then they'll win the NLCS. I said that to Mike Catalana, and the two of those guys laughed at me.
Written in the stars.
Yeah. Well, this is something that I said yesterday. Like, you're looking for solutions to the kicking problem. Tyler Bass has run out of rope here, folks, and it goes back prior to the kick against Kansas City. Now, he makes that kick against Kansas City. They still lose the game. You left a minute and a half up for Patrick Mahomes. Choose your own ending. What do you think happens next, okay, with Harrison Butker on the other side? But there was a missed kick against Pittsburgh, and then you look at the overall stats from last year. Then you look at training camp, and then you look at that kick against the Dolphins, and then what was that against the Jets? One of these times, you're going to say, when we do a blame assessment Monday, it's the kicker. I can't think, Tim, of a position in sports that is more mental than place kicker in the NFL. Now, you could say, well, the goaltender in hockey, that's the goaltender in soccer. Okay, or goalkeeper in soccer. I'll listen to that, but here's the difference. When you're the goalie, you're kind of reacting to stuff, okay? What are you reacting to with the kicker? It's there. The ball is there. Follow through and make the kick. And if you don't have the mentals down, forget it. If a golfer loses his swing, guess what? They don't make any money, and they have only themselves to blame, okay? But if he were a golfer, he'd be missing the cut right now, Tyler Bass. So, Tim, again, I'd ask you the question, is this the most mental position in all of sport?
If you don't have it, you don't have it. I've got to go with closer because there's only a few elite closers in the game, and they've typically almost always got it, but there's a lot of mediocre ones that you can get to, and I don't know if that's fully mental or if just lack of skill, but I think that most of it's mental because once you make one mistake, it kind of barrels up on you and you lose it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of closers that were really good and then suddenly weren't. Like Daniel Bard comes to mind. He had the yips.
Well, Daniel Bard had other issues too, but the one I'll be paying attention to is Devin Williams in Milwaukee. If you're not familiar with him, he's one of the best closers, was injured, came back this year.
Clay Holmes right now.
Yeah, Clay Holmes has been.
Edwin Diaz was really good, then really bad, and now really good again. If you've got it, you've got it.
He's adventurous now. I wouldn't say really good. I mean, it's always an adventure.
Yeah,
it's an adventure with Diaz. So this is the way it works, though. If you bring up a guy, wow, good, we can just promote this guy. No, you're only allowed 3 promotions for any particular player from the practice squad up to the active game day roster. And that player that you promote, you've got to give them the money. So the Bills have, somewhere between $2 and $3 million left against the cap. This is kind of the way you have to nurse it, I guess, for the rest of the season. Do they promote Lucas Havert? We'll ask Dan Fates this. Do they promote him this week? I'm guessing no.
I think they might just because they have to give themselves an opportunity to win, and right now Bass isn't doing that. And granted, they've won without him. He hasn't technically cost them anything, but he's made it a whole lot harder for them to win. And if Haversick kills it in practice, that translates to the game, and you don't have to worry about the kicker position, which is one thing that you never want to have to worry about.
Well,
and problem solved.
Yeah, killing it in practice, but killing it in a game is, the guys from One Bills Live pointed this out. Okay, from Arizona, Pac-12, you figure thinner air, nice weather, 63%.
He was with the Rams last year for about half the season.
Half the season, yeah.
He was a Browns practice squad player.
Right, so a lot of these guys do bounce around. And sometimes, see Dustin Hopkins, who was a Bill, and then they let him go real quick. Sometimes it takes a little bit for kickers to kind of grasp on. Other guys like Greg Zuerlein have it, and then it kind of disappears. I wouldn't say that when Tyler Bass, the Bills move on from him eventually someday, and it sounds cruel that I'm already kind of talking in that context.
Yeah.
I don't doubt any that he'll get another opportunity in this league because sometimes it comes and goes when you are a kicker. But is this the week you want to burn one of these 3, or does it become the wheel of kickers? Okay, hey, Lucas Haverick, that was really good, but now we got another guy in the practice squad, and you'll try this for. I don't think that's very healthy, and it's never been done before. And ultimately, when you are getting to play really good teams, i.e., the playoffs, you're going to need somebody that you don't think twice about. You need somebody that, okay, you know what? We're at the 40. This is a 57-yarder, and it's 4th and 3. Do we go? All right, you want to feel comfortable if the option is take 3 points rather than say go for it on 4th and 8 from the 40. Okay, that would be what I would kind of lay out there, Tim. Is that I don't see any indication that Tyler Bass all of a sudden is going to figure this out here in mid-October.
No, I think that the ship has sailed on Bass. I don't know if Haverick is the answer, and you don't want to be playing kicker roulette too deep into the season. But if that's the options that are provided to them, you've got 3 recalls per guy. If the first 2 don't work, you let him go and you bring somebody else in and you kind of keep recycling it until you find it. The Browns did it with Dustin Hopkins a year ago, and then they gave him a big contract, and now they don't need him because they can't score. So.
And the other thing, too, is while you could trade for a kicker, I don't know if there's any team that wants to part with a kicker that would have a cap-friendly deal. But I can tell you one thing that can happen because of the Bills' cap situation. It's that Tyler Bass, You don't have room on the cap. You'd have to let somebody else go, or you'd have to get somebody else to front some money up. Is that really what you want to do here?
It's not what you. None of this is ideal.
No.
I mean, but again, if one of the bigger problems on this team is the kicking position, it's not all that bad. It could be way worse, I guess, is a better way to put it.
I guess that's true. Speaking of which, well, this was a problem. Just, not even 2 full weeks ago, Tim. There's Josh Allen having his worst game in years, you would say, certainly this year, and he didn't even turn the ball over, right? He's not completing passes, and, well, part of it is receivers aren't getting open. That was absolutely true, too. That's how the world looked with a pretty decent secondary that Houston had and no Khalil Shakir on the field for the Buffalo Bills. And then you couple that in with, again, the worst day that Josh Allen's had. Now that brings us to the news of yesterday. And when I, learned that Danger was going to be out today, like I told our manager, Bo, here, let's get Tim in. Not knowing the Browns are going to make this big
It always
move.
happens.
It's always happens. And
Tyrod Taylor,
I'm
Sean
gonna
Watson.
I'm gonna ask you the question, Tim. Okay, I get it. He's on an expiring contract. And if you don't want to resign him, then you trade him. I will listen to that. That's actually smart from that standpoint. But for a third-round pick, a pick swap, really?
They were waiting for the Adams shoe to drop. It fell as a 2. And
It's
it
not
fell to a 3, actually.
No. It's okay. It's a 2 if he's all pro.
Right.
You would have to feed him crazy to make up the numbers to be all pro. Okay, and all pro, meaning he's one of the 2 best receivers in the game today. All right, I don't think that's happening. Or 2, they make the AFC Championship game.
I mean, they got their guy, so now they.
Yeah, so now, I guess from that standpoint, like the Browns are like, okay, but if you're Cleveland in an offense that is just so bad right now, how does this make you better? It doesn't. Are the Browns in total sell-down mode here, Tim?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a little bit of a nihilist, so I get a little bit of pleasure out of all this happening. Nick Chubb announces his return this week, and then the Browns get rid of all of Deshaun Watson's other weapons to watch him bury himself as already the worst quarterback in NFL history for the money and the deal that he commanded from Texas. And I don't. I get pleasure in failure, I guess. So as the Browns, as me,
that is
fine.
a byproduct of you being a Cleveland sports fan. Honestly, I think that's part of the teams you cheer for. You have this weird, perverse way of looking at things. Like somebody explained it. I think it might have been Tasker. Forgive me, Steve, it wasn't you, or forgive me, the person that I might be giving wrong credit to. I thought it was Tasker that Jets fans are happiest when their team is making mistakes. Is that true or false?
It's absolutely true from my perspective, at least from the football side of things. When the Browns don't matter, it's way easier for me to not care. Like last year was exciting and fun, and then they got to the playoff game and got their doors blown off, and it's like, oh, that was a waste of time. Now it's like 1-5 doesn't matter. Let's run out the string and see what happens with this Deshaun Watson.
So if it doesn't get any better, why would it be any better next year? Oh, also, you don't have any draft picks.
No, they do. The Browns do now. The Watson trade is gone.
Okay, that's done.
And they just got one from the Bills for Cooper. So I mean, it's going to take a long time.
Okay, so it doesn't give you you don't have the capital per se. You might to get your quarterback in the future. Here's the thing I wanted to suggest to you, Tim, and this would really be unprecedented, and it might upset Browns fans, but if Deshaun Watson is washed, why not next year take the biggest cap hit in NFL history, might be ever. You might be able to pull that off if you did it over 2 years and just bottom out. I know that might be painful, but explain to me a better process to be competitive other than to hope and pray. There's a saying in sales, Tim, hope is not a plan. That's your only plan right now for the Browns. Oh, I hope Deshaun figures this out. Oh, I hope they get better. What is the indicator that makes you say this is going to get better?
They made the playoffs with Joe Flacco last year.
He's not there.
I'm aware, but it could get better by literally anybody other than Deshaun Watson. They should have gone to Winston a month ago. Whether or not that happens before the end of this is not a playoff team anymore, clearly. So move on from Watson now. Let him sit. You don't need to cut him. Just let him sit. Eat the money. Who cares if he's not playing? I mean, or you can eat the cap. But
Well,
then
it's
you're
your
absolutely
owner.
Yes.
That's all this is. That's all this has come down to. It's a matter of pride. The owner put himself out there, probably getting ridiculed by his fellow partners, the other NFL owners, behind closed doors. They're at their meetings. I just imagine the guy, what's his name, Lerner?
No, it's Haslam.
Haslam, I'm sorry. Why am I getting
Lerner
confused?
was back in the day.
Yeah, Haslam. Haslam just showing up to some cocktail party, and he's kind of standing by himself at the bar, and nobody's really paying attention to him.
He's Jim Irsay, but without character. So he let a homeless guy decide to draft Johnny Manziel, which failed miserably. I mean, I was on the Manziel train for a little bit, but not necessarily where they drafted him. It didn't work out, but the reasoning and the rationale was I talked to some guy on the street and he said to do it, so I did. This one, the Watson thing, I don't know who he talked to, but whoever he talked to were the wrong people, and I mean, it proved itself pretty early, but now it's just a glaring.
Tim, I'm so glad because you were in studio the minute that came across.
Good day.
And because if you recall that story, the Browns are out of it. It was the Falcons and the Saints. Where's he going to go? To the point where Matt Ryan was a Falcon quarterback and they were rolling out the carpet for him. Matt Ryan was going to Indy by that point. So, okay. And the only way to sway the opinion was just to give this jaw drop. You don't want to reset the market, certainly like that. It was one thing to sign him, but then you realize that's all guaranteed? That's all guaranteed.
Guaranteed money and 3 first-round draft picks, one of which they could have just selected C.J. Stroud on their own. But here we are. And whatever. At this point, as long as Myles Garrett stays a Brown through whatever potential rebuild this is, I think that the Browns will always have a chance to be competitive as long as they have literally any other human being at quarterback than Deshaun Watson.
We got Dan Fate's 13-win Buffalo Plus coming up in a little bit. Just a quick thought or two on baseball, starting out with the NLCS last night. And pop quiz for everybody, how many postseason home runs do you think Kiki Hernandez has in his career? 3? 4? Tim, do you know the answer to this?
I know it's more than that. I forgot the number. I saw it last night, but
15!
And that, I believe, is pretty close to the most all-time.
That is So for all these shows today, look at the Ohtani home run. How majestic, everything. As soon as you allow the home run to Kiki Hernandez, who's batting 9th, and I give the guy credit. He's somebody that putzes around during the season, but one of those rare Jim Leyritz back in the day for the Yankees. I'm thinking of guys that when the postseason came around, Big Shot Bob in the NBA. This is Kiki Hernandez, and now, in my opinion, I'm sorry, Met fans, I think this is where it ends. We had PJ Glasser on yesterday. He said, don't worry, whoever wins game 3, game 4 will go to the team that didn't win. I don't think so. You're going up against Yamamoto tonight. And even if Yamamoto doesn't have his A-plus stuff, this isn't the Philly bullpen you're dealing with. This is the Dodger bullpen. And you got over in the Dodger bullpen because they brought out the wrong guy there in the bullpen game out the get-go, and that burned them. But I feel that it's over. Maybe it goes back to L.A. for Game 6. The Dodgers are just the better team. That doesn't make me a bad Met fan. I'm just telling you what I see here. Tim, do you feel the same way with the Yankees and Guardians?
I do. I am hopeful, of course, but the optimism is gone after game 2. That was a bummer. Game 1 was awful. They gave it away. They couldn't throw strikes. I think they threw 7 wild pitches. They don't command the strike zone. And I get not pitching to Soto and Judge, but they are doing that. They're not pitching to anybody else, and you can't win baseball games when you're not getting the guys that are most likely to get out. And Soto and Judge, don't pitch to them at all. If first base is open, let them have it.
You know who I blame for a lot of this? Me. I was already starting to think of scenarios, Tim, where the world wants a Subway Series or Dodgers-Yankees. What if it's the series nobody wants? That would be Guardians-Mets. And then my mind goes to, I could sneak away for a night. If Danger did it with the Cubs, and I was thinking, you know what? You, me, your dad, we'd be all going down. This would be fantastic. And then silly me, I'm getting ahead of myself. And I don't think you're alone, Tim, in kind of is this going to end here for the Guardians. Tickets tonight in the secondary, the get-in price is $35.
Really?
That's it.
So they've given up on the season.
I think so.
Because I looked at Game 5 tickets, and it was $400 before Game 2.
Okay.
So
it's
cratered out.
Friday, I didn't look up Game 5. Game 4 tomorrow night is at 106. Even so, what does that tell you? Well, Game 3, Guardian fans are like, I don't know. But if you're a Yankee fan, you know what? We could take off Friday. Let's drive in on Friday. Let's fly in Friday. How many Yankee fans are looking at that right now? You know what? Let's go tomorrow. Let's go. Especially if they win tonight. Then it's, okay, Guardian fans dump their tickets and it'll be a Yankee takeover.
I've actually got a buddy out in Buffalo who is a Yankees fan and texted me on Tuesday night before Game 2 saying that he was thinking about going, but it's too expensive. But if the Guardians lose today, those tickets are going to be damn near free, and it'll be Yankee Stadium.
That's sad.
And it's going to be awful. And like if the Guardians fans give up on them before the season's over, I really don't like the feeling of that. Like, you've got to – the season probably is over, but you've got to be supportive. Like, you don't just bail on them and try to get a fraction of the cost of that ticket back. Like,
dude, no offense. I didn't think you beat Detroit in Game 5 with Skubal.
Neither did I. I was, again, hopeful, cautiously optimistic, but all it takes is one swing. Lane Thomas, grand slam. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go out and win 4 in a row against this Yankees team, but it's baseball. Anything can happen. The worst team in baseball won 35 times, which is the least ever, and that's 35 wins.
He is Tim Schneider in for Danger today, who's golfing with his daughter. We will have Dan Fates, Buffalo plus 13 win. We'll talk about this kicker situation. Will we see Amari Cooper on the field? If so, what can we kind of expect? We'll talk to Dan coming up next. My name is Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider. It's a sports bar on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. update.
So another roster move for the Bills. This one interesting. A player to the practice squad, a kicker, Lucas Havrasik. Played his college ball at Arizona. Spent some time last year with the L.A. Rams. Meanwhile, the big move this week, of course, Amari Cooper arriving in Buffalo. Cooper on this coming Sunday.
I don't know. It's uncharted territory for me. This is definitely new for me. But at the end of the day, it's just football, you know. I think I'm a pretty cerebral guy, at least cerebral enough to learn the playbook as fast as I can.
So do we see him on Sunday? We'll get the thoughts of Dan Fates, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus, coming up next in the Sports Bar. Game 3, Guardians-Yankees, coming up at 5 o'clock. Game 4 of Dodgers-Mets at 8:08. Sabres playing Columbus tonight. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I want to point out, too, that Monday was just such a special day, Tim, where, hey, the Bills are playing at night. It's 4 o'clock. We're off the show early because the Buffalo Bills radio network came on, preempted us. That gives me an opportunity to go watch Game 1. As I'm sitting down, I get a text from my buddy Dan Fates that wishes me good luck.
Did he mean it?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I don't, Dan has a good heart. Dan, how are you today?
Good. How are you guys? Of course I was being genuine. I would never not be.
I'm going to send you the tape. We had Catalana on July 17th, and I told him exactly what would happen. It's one of those things you predict and you forgot, but you predicted so many right things over the years, Dan, that you wouldn't know what I'm talking about, certainly. So
right, I just forget all of the correct takes that I have. There's just so many of them. No, I playoff baseball is the best. There's no question about it. And just again, there are some similarities between when my Braves won a World Series and to this Mets team.
There are. I just think that the Dodgers are really good, and the fact that you get Yamamoto, and if you don't win tonight, then you're going to come back with Flaherty. It's looking dicey, but I guess this is what every fan kind of goes through, Dan, that at some points it's looking like you're dead, and maybe you're not.
At least you don't rip your heart out. Early in your games whether or not you won or lost. There's not late inning heroics this series. It has been you win or you are blown out.
Yeah, so if they lose 1-0 or 8-0 like they did last night, it's still a loss.
Matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't make me a bad fan after Ohtani hits the home run to turn it off, which that's what I did last night. Dan, bring you on, of course, to talk about the Bills, Dan Fates, Buffalo Plus, and 13 Wham. We've got the kicker move, but before we get to that, Amari Cooper, we're seeing him on the field Sunday, right?
Yeah, I would have a hard time not believing that he would be on the field in some capacity. Now, he may not get 50% snaps or anything like that, but everything we have heard from Bean talking about him to people from Cleveland and things like that he is extremely intelligent, student of the game, all of these things. I expect to see at least some form of packages to get him on the field. This is the one thing they have been missing. We talked about it on our video after the Monday night game. I think the Bills are built to need to be a physical team. That's just the way they're assembled. They're built to run the ball down your throat and then have Josh Allen sprinkle 5 to 6 unreal Josh Allen type plays, like throwing the ball deep to Ray Davis out of the backfield. That's how this team's assembled. They don't have the weapons on the outside, and I thought they were a number one wide receiver away from being a really pretty good offense. And they got that as we're driving back from the Meadowlands. So I expect to see Amari Cooper on the field in some capacity. I don't think he's getting, 70%, 65% snaps, though.
Final thought there on that win. And it's a win. I guess that's all that kind of matters. Dan, you were on the sideline. How painful was that to watch?
The game was so drunk. That game was the epitome of drunk. Catalana tweets it. It's kind of a joke. Obviously, everybody has. And he's like, this game's drunk. And I was like, this game only opened up its 8th beer. We still got a ways to go. And then it was doink, doink, the 17 flags. We opened beers for all of those. We got back to the hotel, and I was going through all my clips trying to see, the action of the second half because it was exciting, to some respects. It was an intense game. Every drive felt important. And I looked at him, and I was like, did I miss the touchdowns in the second half? And we both had to sit there and look and go, it was 20-17 at halftime. It ended 20. Nope, there were no touchdowns in the second half. Like, that's how drunk and dumb that second half of that game was with all the flags, that you kind of lost track of the lack of point scoring, at least me on the field, just because of the flags, the time in between the flags, the conversations about flags, all of that stuff. It was an ugly game. I know a lot of people joked around that they were hate watching it. But in the end, that game would be a lot uglier if they lost. And so we can look back on the season as Bills fans and go, hey, they won that ugly game. That game was really ugly, but at least we won, because I think it'd be a whole different tone and tune if they didn't, but they did.
Well, if the game was drunk, then the Jets, after the game, did the equivalent of drunk dialing by calling up the ex-girlfriend named Devontae Adams and trading for him, in a move that really wasn't all that surprising. But the speed in which the Bills move, and Tim just minutes ago kind of laid it out, because we were just kind of baiting this. Did the Browns really give it up, not get enough in return? Well, the market was kind of set, I suppose. Like, if you're only giving up a third, yeah, sure, it could be a second, I suppose. Wink, wink, nod, nod for the Raiders here ultimately, but I don't expect that to happen. But your thoughts on the Bills here, because to me, that's just tremendous value in a window that you have Josh Allen now. Why not make this move for what is a 3-round pick swap?
Yeah, I don't instantly a lot of the reactions. We stole, Bills fans, we stole Amari Cooper. I think the Browns got decent value for a team that is going nowhere fast and a guy that's a 30-year-old receiver that's on a rental deal. Like, I don't think that getting a third-round pick isn't nothing. I know you swapped 6th and 7th and things like that, but if I'm the Browns, I'm thinking this is pretty good. Like, our offense sucks. It's not going to suck that much less without Amari Cooper because we have the quarterback. So at least we get some capital back. I like it for the Bills. I've always said everybody loves picks until they become players and all of these things. But a third-round pick for a rental player this year, when you desperately needed somebody that can run routes, that is a true X wide receiver. I know Steve Smith was saying that you got to have Keon Coleman play in the slot and that the Bills aren't using him correctly. That may be true in a vacuum. In a perfect environment, Keon Coleman may develop into a big physical slot wide receiver. But then who do you put outside? So you have to look at the entire pie and not just one piece. So now the fact that you bring Amari Cooper in for the third-round pick, he's a true X. And while everybody says, oh, we're positionless and we got guys who can play everywhere, Amari Cooper will draw attention. We talk about how Stephon Diggs was a gravity player, that defenses adjusted. They just kind of were sucked to Diggs because of his, pedigree. Amari Cooper isn't Diggs, but he's still going to draw attention, which will make things better for Dalton Kincaid. It will make it better for Khalil Shakir. Now guys like Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman don't need to be asked to be 2s and 3s. Now they're asked to be 3s and 4s, which make them instantly better. So I love the move. It was something I thought they had to do. I didn't know if they would, but again, watching that team going, man, the play, the bubble screen on like 3rd and 21, late in the game, said all you needed to know about what this team thinks about their wide receivers. 2 years ago, they would just take a shot. Like, screw it. It's Josh Allen. We got wide receivers. Like, let's go for it. This is a team that especially on Monday night, went, yeah, this is a surrender Cobra move here. So
yeah, and funny thing about that particular play, Dan, I didn't have a problem with it, knowing that you're just doing the math in your head. Like, no, that's probably your best option here.
Right, and so like again, you're playing with the cards that you got dealt, and they need to be a team that is going to average 4.5, 5 yards a carry plus, because that's their best play. And it's crazy to say that when you have Josh Allen on your team, but that's the way they are built. That's the way they're assembled. And that's the way that they got to go about winning games right now. Cooper makes them more dynamic. He provides a legitimate wide receiver. And again, I think he makes everybody around him better, because everybody now gets knocked down a notch into a place they're more comfortable and a place where they're more familiar.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus is our guest. Bills and Titans coming up, and we won't know this until Saturday. Do the Bills elevate their new kicker from the practice squad, Lucas Havrisik? Or I guess maybe the question is, do we have the wheel of kickers here for the rest of the year here, Dan? Your thoughts on that position?
I think it's tough to have a wheel of kickers. Also, this Luke guy, Havrisik, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doesn't he sound like the Sabres' top 6 forward? Like he's got a hockey name.
What are the Sabres?
Either Luke Havrisik needs to be a top 6 forward for the Sabres, or he's the goalie. He's the backup goalie in Edmonton. Like if you just told me that guy's name, I wouldn't be like, oh, kicker, obviously.
I'm looking at his stats, Dan. Granted, I mean, maybe he's figured this out. Maybe the ball is exploding off his toe, but I don't know. Yeah, he spent time with the Rams last year. I guess this is kind of what you're in for here, but really, I don't see a path where the Bills actually cut Tyler Bass. I could see them just sitting Tyler Bass in the corner here for the rest of the year.
His contract's tough. Now listen, salary cap isn't real, and you can make things work because if they feel that Tyler Bass is going to cost them a game in the future, because it's not what he has done or hasn't done, which is make kicks. You can see down the stretch that this is a big warning sign that's blinking as you're driving by of like, hey, caution, Tyler Bass is up ahead. And I looked at that drive, too, at the end of the game, and at one point they were like 3rd and something from like the 30, and I went, you're going for it on 4th. Like, if you don't get this, like, that affects your play calling. It affects your mindset because you don't think, okay, I got a 3 points here. Like, this is – I don't know if this is the next baby step, if they're trying to politely break up with Tyler Bass of, hey, look, we got, this is my new friend. She's just a friend, guys. But this is the biggest first time he's really had competition because they didn't really bring anybody in training camp. And I was fine with that because I was like, hey, like, don't get in his head. Let him get all the kicks. Like, now he's going to be splitting kicks in practice for whatever it is all week. He's going to be seeing another kicker next to him, all of those things. This is, I would imagine, the last straw. I said 2 weeks ago, if he misses another kick, I think he's cut. And then he had one blocked, and we went, well, is that technically a miss, or is that a block, or, things like that. Again, when I'm on the sidelines filming the game, especially on field goals, all I'm doing is focusing on Tyler Bass. I don't follow the ball through the uprights. And the kick that he missed, we've all golfed and, like, stood over our ball on the tee with a driver, and you're just like, I don't know where this is going. Like, I'm going to hit this, but I don't really know where it's going. That's the look of Tyler Bass, of instantly hitting it. And, again, I can't see them as the ball, like the TV broadcast angle. But as soon as he hits it, before I hear the crowd reaction, I can see Bass doesn't like it. Like, he's instead of being like, I'm going to drive this ball, I know where it's going, he's kicking it with the sense of, I really hope this goes in, which is what we all do with our tee shots with our driver. Like, I hope this thing finds the fairway. That would be neat. But this is another step of, another mental challenge. But I think he's on borrowed time, to be honest, because I can't see being stuck with Tyler Bass at his current state in a playoff game when you need to make a 49-yarder.
Like, even if
that
one
would
was
be
blocked,
tough for me.
Yeah, even if that one was blocked, that one was going to miss by 20 feet instead of 30.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dan Fates, 13 Wham Buffalo Plus, which brings us to the actual game itself. Bills, Titans, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Here are my thoughts. I want to see if Uncle Dan agrees or disagrees with me on this, because I think when you're away for 3 straight games and you get the Sunday 1 o'clock in this market, in this town, that does make a difference. There's going to be energy that the Bills can plug in. I am factoring this in. I understand the Titans have a really good defensive line. It might be tough to run against them. They have L'Jarius Sneed, a nice player, although he is nursing some injury right now. But ultimately, I can't imagine Will Levis putting up point for point with Josh Allen. Dan, I like the Bills to cover. What does Uncle Dan say?
The cover's a lot. Did you see the line?
I saw it. It's up to 9. Okay, I had an 8.5 here.
9 and a hook. I saw it today. That's a lot of points for a team coming off an emotional win. Now, listen, Will Levis is really bad. Jenna made a great joke somebody who orders offline a lot. She said it's like Will Levis is like if you ordered Josh Allen off Temu. Like that's what you get. Like a whole bunch of it's foreign. You don't know when it's going to show up. You don't know the quality, anything like that. I think the Will Levis experiment has kind of ran its course. And I also, kind of would wonder, I would imagine Sean McDermott is also preparing for Mason Rudolph. Like this isn't like a nobody backup. Like you have to be prepared that this guy's gotten benched in games. He's gotten hurt in games. You don't really know what to expect. Their defense is really good. You talk about their defensive line. They have the number one passing defense in the league as well. So this will be a grind. I don't think this is a very pretty game. I don't think there'd be any letdown, obviously, coming off of the Jets win. Coming home, I agree, it's a boost. 9.5's a lot. I'll just say that. The Titans aren't a bad team. I think they have a bad quarterback, but the roster as a whole isn't bad. I don't know if it's 9.5 points worse than the Bills.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus. Tell us what you got coming up here, not only on 13 Wham, but things we can check out in advance of Bills Titans here.
Yeah, Thursday night, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time is when we have our Buffalo Plus live show. We do it on the YouTube channel. We take your comments, your questions, things like that as we kind of preview the game, recap, obviously, a very busy week, talk about Amari Cooper, how that all fits in. If you miss that and can't join on the live stream, we repost that on the YouTube channel for the following morning, as well as wherever you listen to your podcast. So we'll have that up as well. And I'm working on my best bets. Mike talked to a friend of ours in Tennessee about what they're saying in Nashville, so more insight on Will Levis and this defense. Busy week. Monday night games are very tricky. Also, here's a little tidbit for you. Will Levis, really bad against the spread in the second half. 2-12 in his career in his 14 games against the spread in the second half. Not something you normally see bet. I did it earlier this year. He's really bad in the second half. Like he gets worse as games go on. So if you're thinking about that, if you don't maybe not necessarily like the big number, think about taking the Bills in the second half.
I do like what you're saying, though, and this is the young coach, Callan, who may have more rope, but it's the age-old question because if you're moving on from Will Levis, at what point sitting him down for this game or for a week or two, or have you seen enough here? Because that would be a concern because although Mason Rudolph isn't great, he did okay for the Steelers last year in the playoff game against Buffalo. So that's the age-old question. Have you seen enough for the Titans to kind of move on and realize, okay, we got to draft somebody else here?
Well, especially Brian Callahan. I watched the Jets game. The turnovers that Levis has had this year have been comical, like bad news bears type of turnovers. And Brian Callahan didn't draft Will Levis. And he's like, if I'm going to lose games, I'd rather lose games with my guy. Like, I don't want to be here using somebody's leftovers. So I think Will Levis's days, much like Malik Willis's days were numbered before him. The Titans don't really know what they're doing, but I imagine Brian Callahan's going to want to get one of his guys in soon.
Can we get an LGM out of you?
That is not promising.
No.
You're adorable.
Okay.
What about a Let's Go Guards?
The Guardians winning the World Series is my dream.
Mine too.
Or an earthquake in L.A. that just wipes out. Oh, they're not in L.A. right now. But yeah, that was what I was hoping. And then the ALCS would just be played as the World Series.
Dan, thank you for your time today. We'll see you Sunday.
Go Braves.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham, Buffalo Plus.
Hell of a guy.
Yeah. I didn't invite him over for the game. I invited him over last week on the air, and he didn't politely decline. He just flat out said no. So there's that. Will Levis isn't good.
Surprisingly not.
No. Like what happened here, and for anybody that, wow, we've got all these rookie quarterbacks doing this thing. We saw a little bit from Levis, but the funny thing is that this league is so cruel, and you get a little bit of tape, and they figure out real quick in this league. And if you aren't a first-round pick at quarterback, you really don't get that extra. I mean, the Bills would be it would be great if you're like, okay, let's just find out once and for all about Will Levis, and you just let him implode this week. That's the way I see this game going. If it ends up being Mason Rudolph, I don't see Tennessee winning. But in terms, by the way, BetQL, it's up to 9.5 now. Bills favored by 9.5.
Yeah, it moved up. It was at 9 when I logged in, and when he said 9.5, it had changed. So it moved up a full point today. So it looks like people think that this is going to be a Bills blow. And I don't know if the reason's Amari Cooper. That's really surprising because that's really hard to adapt in as the guy immediately when you were, especially from where he was coming from.
Week 7 begins tonight. It's the Broncos and Saints. Just a quick thought on that. I guess it's the Sean Payton Bowl, but if you like baseball, I don't know if you're putting this one on. If you play fantasy, as we all do, right? It's Kamara.
Yeah, Shaheed's out.
Yeah,
so.
maybe the Broncos defense.
Olave.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Spencer Rattler against Bo Nix. This looks like this could be a stink bomb on a short week.
Love those Thursday games.
Yeah, like I'm not fooled by the Saints. Hey, we put up some points against the Buccaneers, whatever. And look, yeah, this could be just kind of a short week. And then we got I haven't seen an update on Drake May here, but wow, all of a sudden Drake May be hurt, and New England's getting 5.5 over in London against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's just been over there for the full week, that is such an advantage there for the Jaguars.
Other than being away from home for damn near a full month, but yeah, it's really funny, not in the actual humorous way, but they avoided starting May to avoid injury, and within a game he gets hurt and then has to sit on a continental flight to London just to be able to play football. Yikes. Rough start.
Yeah, well, right. So Drake May. Okay, so this is 1 hour ago. The headline: Drake May looks like himself at Patriots practice despite knee injury. Well, what is it though? Is this one of those things where it might flare up from time to time? We've all kind of dealt with that, like at some point in our lives, right? Like,
if he's anything like Baker Mayfield, he'll be out there making mistakes.
We got more thoughts coming up next. We got time for your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. And Tim, you know what we have as you talk about yourself?
We have a contest. I don't know what it is, or a giveaway. I do not know what it is, so you'll have to feed it to me from afar. But I do know that it occurs, and I do not know what the rules are, so I'm just going to talk until you tell them what it is.
This is like we're using multiple screens, and, our darn producer didn't pull this up in time.
Should have just turned that other microphone on.
There we go. It is, what do we have here? We've got Disturb tickets.
Oh, hell yeah. Are you down with the sickness?
You can't win, yes. Listen all this week to Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. I love talking to myself in the second person. For your chance to win tickets to see Disturb with special guest Daughtry and Nothing More at KeyBank Center on Friday, April 4, 2025. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. You can do that on Friday, or you can be the fifth caller right now. Doing that Mike Danger style. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Caller number 5 gets 2 tickets to see Disturb this coming April the 4th at KeyBank. Good luck from your friends here at the Sports Bar.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Sports Update.
The Bills today, they bring in a kicker to the practice squad, Lucas Havrasik. Again, practice squad only, team working out today. The official practice report, injury report has yet to come out. We'll have the call coming up Sunday, Bills and Titans, beginning at 9 a.m., the pregame coverage here on the Fan Rochester. Game 3 of Guardians and Yankees coming tonight at 5 o'clock. Clark Schmidt going against Matthew Boyd. It's Game 4 of Dodgers and Mets at 8:08. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, L.A., going against Jose Quintana of the Mets. The Sabres in action once again tonight. Buffalo in Columbus. Our coverage here on the Fan Rochester will begin at 7 o'clock. The home and home for the Rochester Americans begins this Friday as they'll be taking on Toronto. RIT hockey, first game in the 5-8-5. The Tigers home against Bowling Green Saturday night. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Amari Cooper.
I think he's actually going to do really, really well in Buffalo.
And now you got to play a 1 o'clock CBS game in a sleepy spot. I mean, it's maybe the worst quarterback in the NFL in Will Levis. So I think Buffalo wins, but I think the Titans can hang around.
This defensive line is very talented. They've got the #1 defense in the league.
Mike Danger.
It's not always who you play, but when you play them. And this spot does set up nice for the Bills coming back home after a 3-game road trip. So, yeah, you want to get the dub in front of your fans against a team that on paper is less talented than you, and certainly with the quarterback less talented than Josh Allen.
Yeah, Gene Battaglia.
Is Will Levis really going to match Josh Allen point for point in this game? Really? I do think the Bills get a big bounce back being back at home. Honestly, I don't think they overlook this opponent. That's a win for Buffalo.
But it'll leave you in good hands with Timmy Schneider, and Gina will be here as well.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Have you ever done this? Like, you think you're tuning into a live sporting event and you hit the button, but it actually, on your streaming device, it sends you back to the beginning. You realize, oh, wait a second, they're in the second inning. We had the equivalent of that a couple times here. Like, I love the fact that we're doing more giveaways, and we're going to have some Brian Regan tickets later on in the show.
Fun.
Yeah, this is like, hey, we're trying to reward you, the Sports Bar listener. It's great, except because you can also listen on demand in that same way in the Odyssey app, but understand that when we're giving this away, it's also in real time. So, like, there's calls trickling in. Hey, my caller number 5, no, we do have a winner. Congratulations to Greg, who won. Greg is going to go see Disturbed. We'll give away more Disturbed tickets coming up tomorrow in the Sports Bar. Before the end of the show at 6 o'clock tonight, we will have tickets, again, for Brian Regan at the Kodak Center all this next year. The new trend here, Timmy, it's got to get the tickets out now for next year.
I've never quite understood that. It's been a thing for a couple of years now, and I don't get, like, I've done contests on CMF before, and people call, like, 5 months later asking where they are, and we have no answer for them. It's like, it is out of our hands. You won. It is out of our hands. You will get them. I promise.
Yeah, no, if you win tickets for April, you'll get them before April.
And they'll call and call and call.
Yeah,
and
it's all right. No,
I get it. It makes you anxious if you don't have them in your hands, but I promise you will get them.
We do have a game coming up at 5 o'clock here, Tim. How are you feeling, buddy? Are you? I'm surprised you don't have it up on the monitor just yet. The pregame show.
I've been distracted. I'm hopeful. I'm nervous. I'm kind of resigned to the season likely being over. I mean, it's baseball, though. You can tag a guy for 5 runs early, and then you're in control of the game. I just want to make sure. I don't want to get swept. For sure. I want to go back to New York. I want it to be a 6 or 7 game series, and I, of course, would love for Cleveland to win, but it's the Yankees and the Guardians. I mean, the Guardians were supposed to lose 92 games, not win 92 games. So everything from here on out is a bonus. I just hope that it lasts a little bit longer than today and tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you and I are in the same boat. I think the Mets are in a little bit of trouble. Walker Buehler was the guy that I think you should have gotten over on. And they did have their opportunities. Now you look at the score 8-0. Well, yeah, the game spun away at the end there. And the thing I love about playoff baseball is this: it's the second inning, and there's a runner on base, and you're on the edge of your seat. That you're not getting that the same way as playoff hockey. Oh my gosh, they just entered the zone, and you're on the edge of your seat. We don't know that feeling necessarily from the Sabres standpoint. Or if you're a Hammock fan, you kind of understand what you saw at the Blue Cross the last few years.
Clammy hands from start to finish, and those two. I mean, I prefer playoff hockey, especially with the overtime the way that it is. But like playoff baseball, when you've got a team involved, it doesn't get much better than that. Like, I can sit through a 7 overtime hockey game no matter the two teams, but when I'm watching the Guardians play playoff baseball, every single pitch, every single one matters, and it makes me sick. And I wish that I could have that feeling as a football fan, but alas.
Someday you will. So instead of watching Yankee Guardian pregame, Tim has professional pickleball up. It's the Columbus Sliders against the New York Hustlers.
I mean, look at this. We could do this. You want to go do it? What if we did this instead?
This doesn't look all that hard, dude. Honestly.
And this is supreme. This is the highest of the high of pickleball.
There might be, like 400 people sitting watching this in Central Park?
Hey, stop the
Are you
always
kidding
something
me?
to do in New York City.
Wait, why would you watch just a bunch of guys playing pickleball?
I'll switch it over for you. Let me get
that's all right.
Baseball.
Baseball.
It's probably like Modern Family or something.
I will say this though about your gear, and that's your team. I understand. That is the dumbest logo in the history, not of sports, in graphic design. That looks like the 5th grade art project, the Guardians logo.
I'm proud of it. Some 5th grader did a really good job with this.
It's the owner's grandson or great-grandson.
Outside of it looking like Major League and Angels in the outfield combined to make one crappy baseball team, this is it. This is the highest of the high. This is a Major League Baseball logo, and I've got it all over me. So, yeah, it's not great, but it is what it is. So,
has everybody, when you go to a game, switched over to Guardian
not
gear?
Everybody.
No,
it's
everybody.
Way more than I would have anticipated. But the Wahoo, the Chief Wahoo, is not extinct, but it is far fewer than I would have expected or anticipated, just based on how strongly people felt with the name change initially. But I guess after a couple of years, you get used to it. I got used to it pretty quickly. I know a couple of people in my family will never get used to it. But
I'm surprised you're going with that hat rather than just. I think the C is a little just more.
I don't think I have a Guardians. I have a regular Cleveland C, but the Indian C.
The old Indian C.
I don't have the script block, whatever hieroglyphic C that they switched it over to with the Guardians.
So I know I asked you this question before. So if you go into the Guardians team store, and the thing I love whenever you go to a different ballpark, regardless if you like that team or not, you're just in town visiting, you just stroll through the team store and you will see stuff that you're not going to see in any other store. It's like it should be any hat that is made for sale right now should be on display. And the thing that I remember going to this is when they were called the Indians before, you had basically every hat the team wore. You told me Chief Wahoo is Gonzo, which I get, I understand. You can't say that's a collector's item, but that's something you're not going to find for sale in a retail shop, certainly not at the official Guardians team store. Did they get rid of the Indian word altogether? Because in the 70s they had some really cool jerseys. I remember them you could buy those throwback jerseys too.
The C still exists. The Indians script is gone, at least from what I saw. The team store when I was out there this June was not open, so they had a bunch of different kiosks instead, so it was a more limited selection. The Indians is gone, and the Chief Wahoo is absolutely gone. In fact, my dad and I were out at the Meet the Amerks night thing the other day on Tuesday at the distillery.
Gotcha.
I had a Guardians hat on. My father had Indian stuff on, and somebody asked if he wanted to buy a hat from him. And I thought it was a very strange question, but apparently...
Wait, somebody wanted to buy your dad's...
No, somebody had a Chief Wahoo hat, and he proposed an offer to my father if he wanted to buy it. My dad declined.
See, I would think maybe there's a whole knockoff market too.
Yeah,
right?
He said it's from 40 years ago, the old logo. I mean, the old logo existed 3 years ago. But, yeah, no, the Indians as a whole, not extinct, but mostly gone. Obviously, I still have a ton of stuff because I've had that stuff for 36 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get rid of, but I try to adapt to current times.
The voice you're hearing, Tim Schneider, in today. Mike Danger is off today. He will be back tomorrow, daddy-daughter golfing event. Today at Mercy. So
awesome. Good for
yeah,
him.
no, you got to take the time to kind of do that stuff. So 5:08 will be the first pitch today. Yankees minus 115 on the money line. This came across, too, right before we went on the air. It's always a Browns story here. The Cleveland Browns have informed the city of Cleveland of their intention to move forward on a new dome stadium in suburban Brook Park. A news conference in Cleveland City Hall, Mayor Justin Bieber expressed his disappointment in the decision by the Haslam Sports Group to leave the current lakefront stadium. Okay, let's translate here. This doesn't mean there's going to be shovels going in the ground at any point. And I know Bills fans were like, why don't you build a dome? Well, for starters, we're going to have trouble paying for this, and by us, well, what do you mean it's paid for? No, just the PSLs and everything else that, that's going to be kind of a grind here. But for the Browns, I don't know, Tim, if this means, hey, we're going to get a Final Four, or we might get the Big Ten championship. Maybe you get something like that. But the Browns, to me, are a team that should be playing outside in the new dome stadium in the suburbs. What are we doing?
This is literally the opposite of what the Bills' options were. They are moving from the city of Cleveland to the equivalent, basically, of Orchard Park. So,
right,
it's different. I wish that they stayed outside. I'm not a traditionalist by any means, but when Deshaun Watson's the quarterback, you're not plotting stadium growth based on who your players are by any stretch of the imagination. But I want to be outdoors. I don't know if I want to spend 4 games outdoors playing in November and December as a fan, but the sport itself, I think, is meant to be played outdoors.
I think you're 100% right, and this is going to be something that, like, in our lifetime, are we going to get to 2/3 of the NFL looking the same on television because they're all in domes? I kind of like turning on a TV and, hey, this game is in Tampa and the sun hits different, or in Tennessee. Well, it's not going to be in Tennessee much longer because they're building a dome, and now that the idea of the Browns, this is what they want. I guess you ask for this because you can, but again, who's paying for us? The story goes on ESPN. The Haslams are seeking a 50-50 private-public partnership for the construction of the stadium. Oh, okay. Private-public partnership, meaning the private part isn't going to be the Haslams. It's going to be developers and everything else that kind of goes into it. And the public.
Taxpayer,
baby.
The one thing Jerry Jones has done, for all of his flaws, the one thing that Jerry Jones has done is if he wants it, he goes and gets it himself. Good for him on that.
It's true. He really extended himself. I remember the short-lived Joe Buck show. Do you remember the Joe Buck show?
I do not.
The Joe Buck show was on HBO. And I'd have to look up how many episodes. Like, it was bad. This is when, like, we were all goofing on Joe Buck, and I think we've kind of come around on him and respect it. Like, he was going through some personal stuff, come to find out, and I was always, a big critic of his. But this is going back right when he opened Jerry World. So this would have been the end of the 2000s, 2009, 2010. And so episode number 2, I remember sitting down and watching the Joe Buck show. First thing was, whoever designed this set, ridiculous, Joe Buck. So you know what? We're going to, make it look like we're in some sort of lodge, and we're going to put, a buckhorn deer right between these two men. I'm like, okay, come on. That's ridiculous. But when you're interviewing, and I'm always trying to work on this, it's not just interviewing, it's listening. Listening is the key to everything in life. And so Joe Buck had his list of questions, Tim, for Jerry Jones, and he asked about the new stadium and the financing of the stadium. And Jerry Jones gives this quote, and since it's HBO, he could say this, and I can't say this here on terrestrial radio, he's scared S-less. An NFL owner is saying because he's maxed out all of his lines of credit, he's scared S-less. Wouldn't that beg a follow-up question? No, he just went on to the next one talking about the cheerleaders or something. So, again, I'm going to have to look that up. But
Google says that it was 3 episodes, but the year is listed wrong on it, so it might not be accurate from what I was looking at. But, yeah, that was that's what billionaires have to do, though. You have to spend money to make money, and typically it works out. But but if they're looking for 50-50, they're still asking for a handout.
So they are just at the beginning of this. So let's kind of go here along. The Browns want a new dome stadium. And probably everybody in Ohio is going, shrug their shoulders. The Bears want a new stadium. They're not getting any public support. None whatsoever. Like, at what point do one of these Rust Belt teams start making noise? Do we have like you always had that LA threat or whatever it is. Like, Haslam wouldn't do over the Browns. Like,
no, they're not going to up and move Hall of Fame finalist Art Modell, by the way. Crazy.
Oh, get out of here.
The Browns aren't going anywhere other than like down the road, but it's still an interesting decision to make, especially considering that the city of Cleveland was willing to work with them within all of these renovation plans. They could have kept it there and done close to what they were looking to do where they're moving to. So that's still going to upset most Browns fans, at least in that region.
Yeah, that's one of the storylines that come out of the NFL today. The Titans, of course, the next opponent, and they just made a roster move. Jamal Adams, they just cut.
By request?
Yeah, he signed a 1-year deal, played like, oh my gosh, I cut Jamal Adams. Okay, he only played 20 snaps this season. He wasn't playing. So, I don't know. Jamal Adams as a Jet, pretty good. Wanted to get paid? Not so much. Where do I have that in reverse? With Seattle. Who got the 2 first-round picks?
Seattle, I believe.
Seattle, right. Yeah, funny bringing this up because how often in the offseason we were looking at the Bills' safeties and thinking, man, they need something else. They need something else. Taylor Rapp, I didn't think could play at the level that he did on Monday night. I thought Taylor Rapp was outstanding in a game that was pretty gosh darn ugly, mainly because of the officials. But Taylor Rapp was good. To me, I feel like 2024 will be the last year we see DeMar Hamlin as a starter in Buffalo, barring him taking that next step. He just seems like a player that tweener's not the right word here, but he's not fast enough to track people down. He's not strong enough like Taylor Rapp. He's just a half step. He's just a little half notch down
behind. He's a depth player who's been thrown into a role for the second time in his career that he needs to. He's not able to make the plays that are being asked of him. He's a backup player, and I think that pretty much everybody knows that. Of course, he himself is going to go out there and do the best that he can. But sometimes the best that you can isn't good enough for the role that you are being placed in.
Well, so, look, what would be the solution here? Well, there could be two. One would be, all right, at what point do the Bills sprinkle in a little Cole Bishop? Cole Bishop, now, the game was in hand, but we saw a lot of him in the second half in the Miami game. And then, okay, you had to go in a game that mattered. He was just not good in the Houston game. Got scorched there. Okay. So now that Rapp is back, you don't need Cole Bishop in that role. What happened to Mike Edwards? Why is he on this roster? He's inactive. Like, at some point, I understand the beginning of the season, he wasn't really available in training camp because of the soft tissue injury, but at some point, do they give Mike Edwards a look here? I just think that it's going to be, for better or for worse, Rapp and Hamlin for the rest of the year on the back end. And for anybody that want, bring in a Jamal Adams. I don't know.
Maybe on a veteran minimum deal just to see if he can improve the team. But if he's not playing with the Titans, why do you think he would be able to play with the Bills?
Yeah. Not so sure. We've got our buddy Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast, which you hear inside the Odyssey app, as we'll be talking about the Yankees. We'll be talking about the Mets. We'll be reviewing the options for the Tampa Bay Rays. I feel like this is a story that baseball has to be like, you're kidding me, right? Have we really resolved, like, the Oakland A's? Like, all we know is, okay, they're not playing in Oakland anymore.
I think that's finalized with them going to Sacramento. I just don't know where they're going to go after that. Because Vegas said go away.
Vegas,
don't come.
Well, Vegas hasn't approved the financing. The Players Association, although Major League Baseball, the front office says, no, we're playing in Sacramento. Scott Boras has pointed out, maybe there's just kind of a negotiation/leverage point. No, we haven't approved that yet. Okay, that's going to be interesting. So, like, are the A's going to be, for years, this vagabond franchise? Now we get the Rays on top of this?
Who again, this is not the first time, but the circumstances are far different.
No, this is it's quite frankly, it's a terrible situation. Like, this is, they got like the worst of that hurricane down there in St. Petersburg. We'll talk about that with Jim Riley coming up. Mike Danger's off today. You're hearing Tim Schneider in studio. You can give us a call too at 866-4FAN. We will have more tickets now. But if you're listening, if you're listening in the Odyssey app on delay, just know that when we give away tickets, you got to call in real time in order to win.
Yeah, if you're fast forwarding now, hearing that, you're too late.
This is
if
kind of
you're
like
hearing this later, then right now, 4:21 real time, you are too late.
It's like a Spaceballs thing. That's never mind. Take a break. Fan Rochester.
update.
Buffalo Bills bring in a kicker for the practice squad today, Lucas Havrasik. Meanwhile, Amari Cooper, we do know, is on the Bills roster. Cooper on playing this Sunday?
I don't know. It's uncharted territory for me. This is definitely new for me. But at the end of the day, it's just football. I think I'm a pretty cerebral guy, at least cerebral enough to learn the playbook as fast as I can.
Bills and Titans, our pregame coverage will begin at 9 a.m. this coming Sunday. Game 3 of Guardians-Yankees coming up at the top of the hour. Clark Schmidt going against Matthew Boyd. Game 4 of Dodgers-Mets at 8:08. Yoshinobu Yamamoto of L.A. going against Jose Quintana of the Mets. We'll talk to Jim Riley from Ballcap Sports coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Sabres tonight in Columbus. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
This is an amazing time of year if you're a sports fan, and particularly if you love baseball. And if you love baseball, well, chances are you might be a Yankee fan or a Met fan, or like Timmy here, a Guardian fan. We welcome in our good friend. It's becoming like a weekly appearance, but if you haven't checked out Barreled Up yet, do that inside the Odyssey app, the Barreled Up podcast. Jim Riley is our guest. Jim, before we get to the Yankees, Guardians, and Mets, Dodgers, and some of the great postseason baseball we've seen so far, first of all, thanks for your time. The story down in Tampa Bay, it wasn't until really the Tampa Bay Times this week kind of laid it out there. First and foremost, we wish everybody down that region just kind of, hey, good luck just kind of recovering after Hurricane Milton. But I came away thinking, wow, this is really, really not good here for the Rays. We know they're not going to be able to use that park in March, but who knows how long. Jim, welcome, and your thoughts on that situation down in Tampa.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Again, I know this does feel like it's becoming a regular thing. I love it anytime. I'm here. I love hopping on and talking with you guys. It's really unfortunate, the situation down there in St. Pete. 20 inches of water fell in St. Petersburg, and I would say probably, just guessing, at least half of that fell after the roof had been blown off. So and there's no drainage system in that. There's no drainage system, so the water's just sitting there. So you have a roof thing, you have a field. The field might be damaged. And so many things, so many repairs that have to now take place that you just can't do with the snap of a finger.
Yeah, for people that don't know, because I read this suggestion, I'm like, well, why not just play without a roof? Take the roof down, and there is no drainage to that stadium. But as you mentioned, we're not talking about inches of water, feet of water standing there. Like, what would be the mold remediation plan? I mean, they've yet to even get the engineers in there to assess the damage. Not even talking about the roof, everything beyond the roof that would need to happen to get that place up to speed.
Yeah, you think about the material that roof was made of. It was like a fiberglass or Teflon. Or it's not just laying around where they can go and get it and throw it up there and then be good to go in a couple of months. When I saw it, I knew that this is not something that's repairable or fixable for the 2025 season. And now we kind of start to look at what are the options to give Tampa, to give the Rays a home field. And right now, the first thought is you pivot to the minor league stadiums. And that's what Toronto did during the pandemic. That's what the Athletics are going to be doing in Sacramento. It seems like the inevitable play here for the Rays, and the closest options that they have, and maybe the most logical, they've got a Florida Complex League in Port Charlotte, Florida. That only holds around 6,000 people. They've also got another stadium in Charleston, South Carolina. Now that's a larger city, so maybe that is more appealing. Is there an option to go to Charleston? But you'd be bumping out the single A team, the Charleston River Dogs. I don't know if because you would be blowing their season completely to smithereens.
Jim, Jim, can I hold you up? Our connection's a little sketch here, so I'm going to call you right back. See if that does the trick here. Hold on one second. As we do this live on the air, Tim.
Yeah, I can handle that. We've got finally the pregame show for baseball started. We switched it over instead of pickleball, and we were watching Friends, not Modern Family. That is my mistake. But I think that the Rays situation is a bit of a bummer. Oakland, I say it half kidding, but Oakland has a chance to do something pretty hilarious by kicking the A's out and letting the Rays in. You can also, it's Tampa, play without a dome. I mean, of course, you've got a lot of cleanup to do, but they don't need a dome to play in Tampa.
Yeah, Jim, you're laying out the minor league, and I think we're going to be good now. Jim Briley from Ballcap Sports, the Barreled Up podcast, which you hear inside the Odyssey app. Jim, the minor league options, those aren't attractive. Could there be some sort of out of the box? And I'm pulling for Montreal. Tim's bringing up while we were reconnecting there, Oakland. Is there another option here for the Rays where they could actually go be in an actual as close as you can be in 2025 here, a major league ballpark?
It doesn't just the Oakland Rays. It just kind of rolls right off the tongue for some reason, right?
Perfect. It comes naturally.
No, exactly. There is. I think they probably do everything they can to try to remain in Florida, and that could be, economy purposes, tax purposes beyond baseball. And if you can't do that, I just don't know how far they go. I listened to Ken Rosenthal earlier today talking about it. He shoots down any idea of an Oakland thing because MLB would not have it. Ken's guesstimation is that MLB is just tired of Oakland, which is horrible to say, but he's probably right. But the Montreal thing, taking it to Canada, seems like that would be a difficult task as well. So I think they stay in Florida. I guess the question is, ESPN has the wide world of sports over in Orlando. Do they go find a home in Orlando until they can get the Trop? I mean, you look at this thing. You look at Tropicana Field. This is not just like an April of 2025 issue. This is likely an entirety of 2025 issue. And that's so whatever they figure out, it can't just be a Band-Aid. It can't just be, for a month we'll play in Charleston and the single A River Dogs. Sorry, guys. You can play when we're not here. They're going to have to, whatever they figure out, by my guesstimation, they got to figure it out for the entire 2025 season. They need to be prepared for that reality.
Yeah, because I look at what happened to the New Orleans Superdome, and that was a town that was reeling because of Katrina. I don't know the damage around the St. Petersburg area, but if the Saints could be displaced for a whole year, and that's the NFL, and again, that's only one game a week, I figure it's going to be kind of an unsettling. While we're talking about the A's there, because we were bringing this up before, is that 100% there in Sacramento? Because you had Scott Boras making some sort of veiled threat about the Players Association needing to sign off on this. Are we really sure the A's are in Sacramento this year?
I'm positive of it. I think that this almost feels like a political move where the players union can probably use this as a way to get something, similar to how politicians, you want my signature on this bill? Well, here's this one item that I've been looking for. If you give me that, then I'll sign your bill. It kind of feels like that here, where the Players Association is looking for maybe some more accommodations or less games of maybe spring training. I don't know. If the Players Association is looking for something, this may be the way to get it and get their signature. Because you're right, they do. There is the players do have to sign off on it as well, and I think they will. They may get something in return.
So, and then the other part to that is, then Vegas here, that financing for the ballpark, that's still up in the air, or it's not tied up, correct?
Well, the Vegas thing is still tied up. That's another one that feels like it can remain tied up, but there are enough strong powers at play here to where I would be shocked if it doesn't happen. I would be absolutely shocked. I think they will in 3 years. In 3 years they'll be opening up and they'll be playing in Vegas. They got to get moving soon. Like if we're still having this conversation in a year, then I might change my tune.
Yeah, Jim Riley.
If they can get it going, then they'll be fine.
Jim, what turning our attention? We've got in the studio here, Yankees Guardians, and the pregame is up here. And what has to happen? Because I'm looking at the secondary ticket prices. The get-in price tonight, $35. That does not seem right. It's almost like the home crowd's like, oh, I don't know about this. And it's a little bit more for Game 4. And granted, it's on a Friday night. I get all that. But what has to happen for the Guardians just to get one here tonight and start to change this series?
Well, I mean, J-Ran needs to come to life and have a monster game. I know he hit a home run in Game 2, but it was in the ninth inning. The game was over at that point. It was a freebie. You've got to get the middle of the bat lineup. Specifically, Jose Ramirez needs to do something, and Cleveland needs to get. And you know what? They could get that, and they could still have trouble because there's enough other bats in this lineup that are not producing. But from a pitching perspective, guys, they have not had a starting pitcher go 3 innings in either of these first 2 games. What does that tell you? That tells you the bullpen is getting taxed. And these Yankee bats, they have now seen every Guardians pitcher except Matthew Boyd, who's going to go tonight. And Matthew Boyd himself has not gone more than 3 innings in either of his first 2 starts. So I worry that Cleveland is just that bullpen is going to wear down, and not only wear down, but they get exposed. The longer they're out there, the more batters they face, the bigger the book becomes that the Yankees hitters are building on them, and they won't be as effective as the series goes on. So you need a miraculous start from Matthew Boyd tonight. He's got to go at least 5, and he's got to keep the Yankees to 0 or 1. He's got to figure out a way to shut down these Yankee bats. And look, here's the crazy thing. The Yankees have won 2 games that if you were a Cleveland fan, you want those first 2 games. I mean, Carlos Rodon has been the model of inconsistency throughout his career, but he shut you down. Garrett Cole did not look like an ace in Game 2, but you still don't win that game. You make too many mistakes. Granted, the Yankees also made mistakes, but Cleveland's mistakes just added up more, and you're down. So if you're Cleveland, you need something miraculous tonight for Matthew Boyd to not only win, but grab some kind of momentum or some kind of light.
So in order for Cleveland to win, I think the most logical thing would to just simply not pitch to Soto and Judge, correct? I mean, how hard is that?
There you go. Just move. Well, the problem is Gleyber Torres is hitting ahead of him, and Gleyber is having a terrific postseason. So problem is if you don't pitch to Soto and Judge, there's a good chance that Gleyber got on. I believe Gleyber's OPS in the postseason is 1,000, or it's close to that. So you don't pitch to them, then you probably have the bases loaded for Stanton, and Stanton is having a magnificent postseason. So this is how you do it if you're the Yankees. Yes, Stanton and Judge are the guys you game plan against, but then when Gleyber's getting on ahead of them and Stanton's doing damage behind him, you're kind of up the creek without a paddle.
And if Boyd goes 5, that would mark the first time all postseason that the Guardian starter has gone 5 full innings.
Yeah, it would be. It's ridiculous to say that 5 innings from a Cleveland starter would be miraculous. That's kind of what it would be the way things have been going. And pulling Bybee, I get it. You had Judge. It was a bad spot, but yanking Bybee for Cade Smith, and Cade Smith is amazing, and that Cade Smith there and Judge duel, that those that know about Cade Smith, I mean, that is a fun head-to-head matchup. But to pull Bybee in the 2nd inning, there's been a couple of head scratchers when you're thinking about the longevity of the game or the longevity of the series from Stephen Vogt in this series. He's almost managing it like it's still a 5-game series.
Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports, our guest here. Jim, in the National League, I thought the Mets had to get Game 3 with Walker Buehler. And look, he was making the pitches, but there were a few innings he was on the ropes. But now it's Yamamoto tonight. Flaherty looked outstanding in Game 1. I'm starting to feel the walls closing in. How do you view this series here?
No, I'm with you. This Mets team has had a really fun, exciting, emotional ride. I have coined them as the team of destiny, and I started that 2 months ago. Team of destinies don't always win the championship, though. Team of destinies take a deep run, give their fans a lot of exciting moments and memories that they'll carry with them, but they don't always win a championship. And losing last night to Walker Buehler and the Dodgers, that definitely stings because now they are in must-win mode. If they lose tonight, they are not going to win 3 straight games against this Dodger team. There are some teams you can do that against, not this Dodgers team. So they, by not getting that game last night against Walker Buehler, that hurts in a big way, and it just adds more pressure to tonight. Good news for them. Jose Quintana's on the bump, and Quintana has pitched in the 2 series clinching games against Milwaukee and against Philly, and he looked great. So they need him to do that again tonight and give them a real chance and go deep in this game so the Mets don't have to go deep into their bullpen, because if they do, that's going to be that'll be trouble for the Mets. Quintana's got to come out and set the tone.
If we were going to make a list all time in any sport, hey, here's a player, but look at what this player does in the postseason. No, if you're from the NBA, you're an NBA fan, you may say Robert Horry. Where would you put Kiki Hernandez on that list? Oh, no, Kiki Hernandez again.
He's up there. The Robert Horry comparisons is fantastic. That's a great one because I saw they flashed it up earlier in this series, his home run rate in the regular season to the postseason, and it's cut in half in the postseason. He becomes a feared fixture in that lineup. You don't want to pitch to him in the postseason, and he did it again last night. That home run, the Ohtani home run was the big one that everybody was talking about, right? But the Kike Hernandez home run, a 2-out shot after Edman got on when the game was still close, because it was 2-0 when Kike went deep. To make it 4-0, the way Dodgers pitching had been going, the Dodgers were in the bullpen at that point, and they were rolling. That home run felt like it was the silver bullet. Like that was it. And then in the bottom of the 6th inning, just that again, we get back to that magic. We get to that divine intervention. One of those key guys has been Jose Iglesias, and he comes up with 2 on. Whereas you had the inning before, Hernandez goes deep, Iglesias grounds into a double play that ends the inning. So you're just seeing these moments that are kind of like, oh, that's not good. That's not good for the Mets. Beyond just, the outcome of the play, that's not a good sign. Sometimes you look for signs, and they just seem to be there right now. And maybe they can turn it around tonight. I want a great series. I wanted this to go 7, so I'm kind of rooting for the Mets tonight because I want a 7-game series.
Oh, I think we all, and I know Tim would be rooting for Guardians-Yankees series to go longer than 4 or 5, I suppose.
Yeah.
Finishing up on Kiki Hernandez, this is one you could win a bar bet. He's got more postseason home runs than Aaron Judge. He's got 15 of them. 15.
I believe it. Isn't it amazing?
15.
It's absolutely, well, I mean, it's probably a little bit of at this point, Kike Hernandez cannot be lying in the weeds anymore. Maybe the first half of that home run total, he sort of surprised some guys. But because Aaron Judge, I mean, you pitch to Aaron Judge like your life is on the line. Now you pitch to Kike Hernandez like that if you're in the postseason. Yeah, it's some of those statistics, the postseason numbers. I mean, they will. They're eyebrow raising. You'll see guys that are huge during the regular season and have maybe huge moments the round before sort of shrink and disappear for a round because it's such a small sample size in the postseason. It's just a couple of games. Teoscar Hernandez, I don't think has a hit yet. No, he's 0 for 11 in the NLCS after having a big divisional round. So that comes with the territory.
Yeah, we're talking with our buddy Jim Riley some baseball here. Jim, I know we talked about when we had you on last week Bob Costas, and now we're not going to have Bob Costas anymore here on the broadcast.
Nope.
I want to take a different angle, though, to this. I got to say, I learn every time I listen to John Smoltz call a game. He's pointing out something here, and to compare where we were, a generation ago. And I'm texting with my college buddies how we grew up with Tim McCarver. Rest his soul, but Tim McCarver had this penchant for pointing out the obvious here. John Smoltz does not do that. Is he the best color commentator in the game today?
Oh boy, that's a tough call because there's a lot of local commentators that do a fantastic job. I would say from a national level, color commentators, I think that's I really like Ron Darling. Ron Darling does a really good job too, and he does. He's doing Mets throughout the year, and he's on TBS right now. But for national broadcasters, there's an argument to be made that Smoltz is locked in. The way he's last night, the Walker Buehler pitching to Francisco Lindor with the bases loaded seemed like a huge moment, and Smoltz is sort of breaking down the approach on what Buehler needs to do. I love listening to pitchers talk about what needs to be executed and what they think the next pitch is going to be, or what the next sequence of pitches could be. He just did this. Now watch let's see him do this. I really like that stuff, and Smoltz provides that a lot. So I'm on board with you on Smoltz being really good, and from a national perspective, probably one of the best. Overall, though, there's a lot of good color commentators out there.
From
a national level, he's up there.
When you talk about the local level, and you consume more than any of us here, but and as a Met fan, people will come up to me and say, you know what, I'm not a Met fan, but I love your broadcast. I love Gary, Keith, and Ron, and they have that chemistry. They're fantastic, and if you're doing rankings, they might be the best local. Do you have a favorite one locally?
The Padres do a great job, but that's more of a good old fun time group there. I really like the Mets. That's a top-notch broadcast. They do a great job. So Mets, Padres. Jason Benetti, he does play-by-play. He doesn't do the color commentary, but Jason Benetti was with the White Sox. He got out and went to Detroit. If you want to know one of the reasons why Detroit was successful this year, it was because Jason Benetti went into the broadcast booth. They got him from the White Sox. Benetti's great with Detroit. There's some really the Orioles guy, Kevin Brown. There's so many good ones, and that's what's great. And that's what I think drives fans wild this time of year is, for the most part, a lot of the local play-by-play guys, they're really good. And you don't get them this time of year. So you don't get like Joe Davis last night. You may love it, you may hate it. Joe Davis is obviously he's the broadcaster one of the QB1. He's broadcaster one for Fox Sports, but he's also the Dodgers play-by-play.
Yeah.
But he's able to give you, like last night, Walker Buehler. He's giving you bits on Walker Buehler. I think Buehler struck out Alvarez to end the fourth inning, and Joe Davis is talking about how Walker Buehler hasn't done this in a really long time. This strikeout rate, the swing and miss hasn't been there. And the only reason why he's able to provide that is because he does the day-to-day broadcasting for the Dodgers. So this is one thing I would like for them to do. I would like the national broadcasters, Fox and TBS and ESPN, when you get to this time of year, if they could grab – you can't grab the play-by-play guy, but if you could at least grab the color commentator and bring them into the booth, I would really appreciate that, because you would get so much more insight when you are listening to the games on the teams that you're watching.
Yeah, or make it easier. Like I want to listen to my local radio call if I'm a Guardian fan, or I want to listen to John Sterling call my base runners drunk, or whatever it is there.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
Yeah, listen, I'm not upset that Sterling came back. I think it's a little unsavory. I wouldn't have done it, but I can't fault him. Jim Riley, Ball Cap Sports, the Barreled Up podcast. Tell everybody about the Barreled Up podcast. What you got working here during the postseason, Jim? Yeah,
check us out. We are talking about what's going on, breaking it down, bringing on guests, and we're doing it in real time. And sometimes it ends up on the YouTube channel before the podcast, but wherever, if you're looking for a daily fix of baseball talk and reacting and breaking down, the Barreled Up podcast has you covered.
Jim, appreciate the time, and we got to do this again during the World Series.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, Jim, thanks so much for your time. Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports. Didn't mean to cut him off there.
Some breaking news unrelated to baseball, literally just now.
Okay, what do we got?
Virginia men's basketball coach Tony Bennett to announce immediate retirement Friday.
What?
That's all I got. I don't have a reason. I just know that it's a fact.
Tony Bennett's retiring? Oh my gosh. Like, we've had, a few celebrities here on the show over the years, and he came in for comedy at the Carlson show one time, having Jay Moore in studio with us. I was really nervous. I was nervous talking to Jay Moore, and Danger knew how to kind of soften him up, just getting Jay Moore to do his Tony Bennett bit. Hey, if you're going to miss those free throws, you're on the net straight. I can't do it. Jay, my apologies.
Yeah.
Tony Bennett.
That's
wow.
it.
All right, so can we be cynics here?
Sure.
Why? Why now, Tim? Why now, as you just had ACC Media Day? This doesn't have anything to do with a contract. It doesn't have anything to do with what is coming.
NIL. Maybe. A lot of people don't like that.
You went through, okay, maybe you're just, oh, gosh, I got to get through another season. I'm out of here sort of deal. Or I knew somebody, I won't mention the name on the air, at the Division III level who did this just so, hey, I'm going to do this so my handpicked assistant gets the interim tag. And when they see the work he does as an interim, they'll have no choice but to hire him. Could that be part of this too? No, we're just openly speculating. That's pretty big news from college basketball. Huh.
Pretty strange timing, though. You're right. Media Day, the season starts in 2 weeks. I mean, if it's health related, good luck to him, of course.
Yeah.
But to announce an immediate retirement at this time is peculiar at minimum.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's all good. If not, I guess we'll strap in and buckle up and watch and see how it unfolds.
We have time for your calls in happy hour, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. And you want to hear, folks, really bad radio. Just bear with us for 20 seconds. And, Tim, not that you're bad radio, but I'll explain. Tim Schneider, talk.
Oh, yeah, you've got to grab the computer again. Here, the third microphone is on, so why don't you use that one? You're right next to it.
Okay, no, actually, I don't know if it's that.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, we're about to give away some Brian Regan tickets, and Gene is going to grab the rules for them. I do know it's at Kodak Theater. I do not know when. He will tell you, and I believe, assuming it's from the same rules, it is the fifth caller is the champion for this one. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. He'll do it in a second, but I'm going to talk to you as like I know what I'm talking about. It is 4:54 right now, so if you are listening on the Odyssey app and you are behind, you've already lost, give or take a minute or so because of the web delay.
All right. So this is, and again, my screen froze up. I'm using multiple screens here. Thank you, Tim. Okay. Now, the floodgates shall be open. Open! Sesame! Bong! Win a pair of tickets to see Brian Regan coming to the Kodak Center on May 28th in 2025. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Live Nation. Or you can just simply be caller number 5, as Tim mentioned right now. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Good luck from your friends here at the Fan Rochester.
You're listening. Sports leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Some hot kicker talk in the sports bar. The Bills bringing in a kicker to the practice squad today, Lucas Havrasik. Havrasik playing with the Rams last season. Meanwhile, Josh Allen getting ready for this game, talking about the Titans defense.
They're a high-effort group, and they got some real players over there. If you look at them statistically, they're near the top in about every category that you can think of. So we're going to have our hands full. We're going to have a good week of practice, a good week of preparation. Working on a short week, so we've got that pushing against us.
Yeah, that is all true. We will have the coverage coming up at 9 a.m. this Sunday for the pregame, 1 o'clock to kick off here on the Fan, Rochester. Well, coming up in a few minutes, it's Game 3, Guardians and Yankees. Clark Schmidt going for the Yankees against Matthew Boyd of the Guardians. Game 4, Dodgers-Mets at 8:08. Yoshinobu Yamamoto of L.A. going against Jose Quintana of the Mets. Sabres play at 7 tonight. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Amari Cooper. I think he's actually going to do really, really well in Buffalo. And now you got to play a 1 o'clock CBS game in a sleepy spot. I mean, it's maybe the worst quarterback in the NFL in Will Levis. So I think Buffalo wins, but I think the Titans can hang around.
This defensive line is very talented. They've got the number 1 defense in the league.
Mike Danger.
It's not always who you play, but when you play them, and this spot does set up nice for the Bills coming back home after a 3-game road trip. So yeah, you want to get the dub in front of your fans against a team that on paper is less talented than you, and certainly with the quarterback less talented than Josh Allen.
Yeah, Gene Battaglia.
Is Will Levis really going to match Josh Allen point for point in this game? Really? I do think the Bills get a big bounce back being back at home. Honestly, I don't think they overlook this opponent. That's a win for Buffalo.
But it'll leave you in good hands with Timmy Schneider, and Gina will be here as well.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It is happy hour here in the Sports Bar, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. It is the one time of the year. It is just so unbelievably busy. We didn't even mention we got a Thursday night football game tonight. We got not one but 2 playoff games in Major League Baseball. We got the Bills making a kicker move. We'll get to that in a bit. And we also have what we think is going to be a sold-out Blue Cross Arena Saturday night. The RIT Tigers' first home game, finger quotes here, the home away from home, the BCA. Head Coach Wayne Wilson joining us for the first time this year. Coach, I'm hearing this game is trending to a sellout. How are you today?
Well, thanks for having me on. And the last I heard, and this is yesterday, there's only 500 tickets left for the game. So I think we can say that it's going to be sold out by puck drop tomorrow. So we're really looking forward to it again.
Yeah. Well, welcome to a new season, and it's certainly you've been into this now. 2 weekends away. The first one splitting, and then last weekend splitting down at Mercyhurst. How has the season gone for you so far here, Coach?
I think good. I mean, from a result standpoint, we're always striving to be a little bit better, but with a lot of new guys, we're really learning a lot about our team. I really like the direction we're going into. It's exciting, like a lot of moving pieces. I think the last 2 years, we had a lot of returning guys coming back in some prominent roles, and there wasn't a whole lot of what's the power play going to look like. We kind of knew who was going to be on it and things like that. So we're trying to fit some pieces to that puzzle, but really excited about our goaltenders for one, some of our returning defensemen and returning forwards, and then the new guys have all fitted in real well too. So it's we're excited about the future here, but we're continuing to learn about our team one game at a time.
Yeah, Wayne, you could probably get this question a lot. At least I get it. Like, hey, with all these changes, tell me about how the Tigers are going to be. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a journey here. I don't know what to tell people here, Coach, because of all these new pieces and the talents. What do you tell people when they say, how are you guys going to be this year?
Well, before we played our first game, I said, I don't know. You tell me. But, no, it's you know what? You got to play games to see where you're at and get battle tested here a little bit. Any trip up to the north country there is always a tough trip. 2 good teams as well, and we performed well. We lost in overtime to St. Lawrence and then won against Clarkson, and then on the road at Mercyhurst. So looking forward to it's kind of funny, our first home game would be at Blue Cross, but looking forward to that game. And the thing that we do know is that Bowling Green beat Mercyhurst in 2 games, so we have a little bit ability to gauge where they're at. and should be some really good hockey down there.
Now, let me point out, for folks who may not know, you are a BGSU grad. You were a defenseman on a team that won the national championship. What is it like for you? And this isn't the first time this has happened, but what is it like for you when you're coaching against your alma mater?
Well, it's people ask, is it kind of special? I don't know if it's special when they're coming here. It's probably a little more special when you go back because you see a lot of different people that you knew when you played there. And, that's a rink that you're very familiar with as far as memories and stuff like that. When they come here, it seems more like just another opponent, to be honest with you. Maybe the jersey gets a little bit of emotions in there, but it's a pretty normal game when we play them here in Rochester. So this is probably about our third or fourth time we've played them, and still want to win that game, regardless.
yeah, most certainly. Wayne Wilson, our guest here, is the Tigers' home. We think there's tickets left. At least it's if you're interested, you better probably get on that tonight here. Wayne, who's in goal on Saturday?
That's where we're going to wait till tomorrow. So you're probably a day early with that question, but both of them have done a really good job, and that's and Mike Rotolo's helping us out as our goalie coach, so we're deferring to him a little bit as well. And it's been good competition all week. All three have been outstanding, and we'll have to make a decision come tomorrow.
And didn't you like how I like to, like a fastball, try to sneak that one by you?
I don't mind that, though. I don't mind that. That's a good question.
Well, it's a good problem to have, I guess, when, you have these guys kind of playing, at the way they are. Can you describe, the three new guys you have here, Wayne, and what they bring to your program?
Well, I think Trent in particular has a lot of experience. I've played 3 years of college already. Moves the puck very well. Technically sound, smaller in stature, so good that he is technically sound. Jacob, we call him Kuba. He's bigger. He moves very well in the net. Very quiet person, but very confident in the net, and we've liked how he's played. Probably not as active with the puck out of the net as Trent. And Ethan David is another goalie that we're really happy with as well, and we're trying to find room to get him in a game without muddying the waters too much, but I would like to see what he looks like in competition. Probably not this weekend, but we still want to get him in somewhere, and we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah, how's the team health-wise coming out of Mercyhurst, Coach?
Yeah, we're still good. Same guys that are out from Mercyhurst. Matt Wild will be out again this weekend, so he hasn't. That's another big loss for us in the games that we've played, and quite frankly, could have been the difference in 1-goal games when you've got a guy that put up 19 goals last year, and then Kevin Marks-Noran is he's also banged up, and they're close, but they won't be playing this weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, Coach, I was thinking of you last Saturday because I know you're a Detroit Tigers fan. That was a fun ride, but I thought it was going to kind of go longer. Or do you not even have time to kind of watch any postseason baseball this point?
I'm going to correct you. I'm a Cleveland. I got to correct myself here too. Guardian, not Indians fan. I'm an Indians fan, so it's.
I remember you telling me you went up to Tiger. Maybe I got my stories confused there.
Yeah. Hockey, I'm a Bruins or anyone that I've coached fan. So I guess it'd almost be Bruins and Leafs now with Tanev with the Leafs.
Yeah.
And, I'm a Guardians, and I was spending a lot of time in Bowling Green and watching. Although we got both, we got the Guardians and the Tigers the same amount of time. But anyways, I can tell you what I'm not. I'm not a Penn State fan.
Well, listen, I'm 100% behind you on that one, Coach. I mean,
your partner there. Right?
I haven't, at what time are they kicking? Are they even playing? Because you don't understand. When I'm calling a game and hey, buddy, the hockey game is down here. Let's not look at our phone.
You got to give them a little direction there. We won't call them out. But
we'll try to do our best. Coach, we'll see you Saturday. Thank you for taking time during dinner here, Hour. Appreciate it. Let you get back. We'll see you Saturday.
Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. Head coach Wayne Wilson joining us in the sports bar as they're home against Bowling Green. And I think it's important that we support all of our teams here, and particularly not just the men but the women at RIT, 2 Division I programs. I wish we had more. And the storyline, and we've talked about this for Coach, but like the Tigers got clocked by the portal. The portal took the goalie, took the team captain, took the leading scorer, took a lot out. So it's a lot of new things going in. But if there's one sport that I think is really long, it's hockey. College hockey starting in October, and then you get to the postseason in March.
Yeah,
and
the Frozen
even
Four typically the
in
last
April.
week of April.
Yeah,
or the
so
first
like
week of April,
if
rather.
you get to your destination, 7 months.
It's a
Like
grind, it's a commitment.
what other sport goes 7 months here? Okay, football September 5 for football.
Basketball's close,
But close, but not
there's-
to the distance of college
I think
hockey.
part of the hockey's issue though is they take a break during like winter breaks and midterm breaks and stuff like that, so it extends longer than it might necessarily have to. That's part of it.
That's part of it. They do kind of pause a couple weeks around the holidays. You will get some holiday tournaments. The TV dollars in college basketball kind of push you to play right up to the edge there of, in holiday week. Hockey kind of takes a little bit of a step back. Certainly the Tigers Conference does.
Yeah, and the portal and the NIL stuff is taken. Like my cousin is an assistant at Clarkson who actually just lost to RIT.
Yeah.
Same thing. The portal decimates the lower conference teams at really all sports, but basketball has the issue. It's all the same, and it's really putting a hurting to the college athletics product, in my opinion.
Does that mean now you can put away your dopey AIC gear and not antagonize me in the
That's gone.
sport
It's all Clarkson stuff now.
Okay, good.
Till he maybe makes another move, but for now it's all Clarkson. Was AIC before, Ohio State prior to that. But he's doing well at Clarkson, and we'll see.
So where did he play in Section 5? Did he play at all?
He played at Penfield for 2 years
okay.
and then went off to prep school.
Okay, that's the way it kind of has to go. You want to be at that level. Yankees, Guardians, they are in the first, no score. Yankees have 2 outs. We'll keep an eye on that. Tim will keep 2 eyes on
Yeah,
that.
no, as ironically, you guys are giving your partner a hard time watching Penn State. I was completely lost in this baseball
For the
game.
record.
Penn State's off this week, by the way. I know that. But, the Guardians are on now, and I am focused on that, not on the job at hand.
So, I'm pulling for I'm pulling for your Guardians here. We got time for calls, 866-4FAM. We are in happy hour. Let's get to the news of the day out of Buffalo. They signed a kicker today. A kicker who at Arizona had a success rate of 63%.
College football, baby.
Yeah.
If you've got a leg, you've got a chance. But he played about half the season with the Rams last year. He was a Browns practice member until today, I believe. And we'll see what happens. It's tough. It's tough to be in a spot that the Bills are in, but it's also a blessing if this is one of the bigger hurdles that they have to deal with during the season.
I hear that, like if this is a first world problem, but you know what? It's not, because NFL games are won and lost by 1 score more often than not. And the Bills have been kind of okay in that regard. That it hasn't come down to your kicker. It will come down to your kicker at some point, most definitely. And the Bills, the kicker's name is Lucas Haversick. Have a snack, whatever. Yeah. Well, I love it. Dan Bates joined us earlier. He's like, that sounds like a hockey name. Does he play for the Sabres? I'm like, I don't know. Sabre or Bill? Lucas Haversick. Oh, my gosh, he's an Amherst. No, he's your new practice squad kicker. Just to kind of review, and I know most folks know this, when you're on the practice squad, you can get elevated. You're only allowed 3 elevations. And on the third, you have to stick. So I call it the wheel of kickers. Welcome to the wheel of kickers for the Buffalo Bills. Like at some point, are you going to hit the button and sit Bass down for a week in the naughty corner and bring up another kicker just to see what he got? Well, if you go down this road, I can guarantee you this. You're going to have different place kickers brought in, and then what are you doing in the end? Lucas Haversick, if he doesn't have it, you're gone. We'll bring in some other kicker here. So maybe this is the way the Bills go, and they're going to try to get by, and then they're going to make Tyler Bass a game day inactive. It's just that's the only thing you can kind of do against the cap at this point. I don't think it's something that Tyler Bass all of a sudden is going to figure out here. And I don't know, like, what is he seeing? Is he seeing a sports psychiatrist? That would be question number 1 I would have. Like, what kind of help is he getting? Because to me, it's not a physical thing. It really isn't. When you're out there all alone with your thoughts, and I would contend this, people will say the most mental position in sports is goaltending. And I'd say, okay, from the standpoint of you just let a goal in and you don't want to let goal number 2 in, block it out. Okay, I understand that, but you're reacting to the puck. You have to react. You react. You're not reacting when you're the kicker. Get up there and do the thing you know you're supposed to do. By the way, it's your brain telling you. You know you're supposed to do that. Don't overthink it. Don't slice it. Anybody that stands over a golf ball, it's got to be the same sort of feeling when you sort of get the yips like that. So for Tyler Bass, to me, I thought he would have figured it out by now. But now, how many months are we in?
It's almost a full calendar year.
Yeah.
Maybe more. But like Justin Tucker, for my money, the greatest kicker of all time, he's had some struggles this year. Different kind of struggles.
Is it
than,
struggle
than Bass.
or is it the leg strength is actually starting to fade there a little
even
bit?
Still, like that's an expectation. Like people expected him to be able to hit from 70 regularly. He's never done it, but like he's capable of doing it. Now he's struggling to hit from 50, and I don't know if it's a mental thing. It might just be a physical thing, but like eventually those skills deteriorate. But once you lose it mentally, you're done. And I think that Bass has been stuck in his own mind for it's been almost a full year now, possibly longer if you think about other misses that kind of lead up to the ultimate miss, which probably was the Chiefs playoff game miss. But now everything seems to be a miss, and we're celebrating makes, and that should never be.
It should be like, oh my gosh, here's a chip shot field goal from 22 yards or whatever it was.
We're cheering extra points now, and that's bad.
Yeah. We had Joe Buck mocking you, calling you see better kicks on game day. It was blocked. Okay, regardless,
that was missed anyway.
That was such a terrible kick. The reaction in Vegas here today, and I don't know if this is. Hey, let's take a look at the Bills, and they got Amari Cooper, and we've seen the line move a full point here in the last day. It was this time yesterday 8.5. This morning it went to 9.
It was 9.5 when Dan Fates was on us, and now it's back to 9. So this thing is fluid.
Oh, wait a second.
It was 8.5 24 hours ago.
It
was 9 when the show started. 9.5 when Fates was on. And now it's back to 9.
Now it's back to 9. Thank you, Tim, because I did not hit refresh. Son of a gun. Wow, what line movement we have here? Because I don't want to bet the Titans plus 9, but I'll put out at 9.5. Come on. Ultimately, are the Titans going to keep this to a one-score game? I keep coming back to this, and it's the question I don't know. Look, if it's Will Levis from beginning to end, all 60 minutes, Bills will win. Yes, the Titans have a good defense. You even heard it in Josh Allen's tone. Yes, we got to be ready. We got to have a good week of practice. Didn't have that exact intonation, but I'm listening to that and thinking, I'm hearing a quarterback that is saying the things he thinks he needs to say, but he knows there's plays to be made, for crying out loud.
Yep.
The Titans lost to Joe Flacco. But part and parcel with that is when you have such a bad offense, which the Titans do, look at all the targets, by the way, for Calvin Ridley. He was targeted, how many times was it? 9 times last week?
And I don't have the button. I'm sorry. That's on me.
Oh, no, that's fine. but the point is, none of those targets were catchable. Maybe one. Will Levis is that bad. And this is the thing I don't know, Tim. If you're just answering the question, does Will Levis give you the best chance to win? The answer is no. As average as Mason Rudolph is, he's the quarterback that gives you the best chance to win. However, when you're trying to build a program and you're trying to figure out, is this the guy we want to move for the future, you give that guy a little extra rope. And the guy with the extra rope right now is Will Levis. But as Dan Fates pointed out, Will Levis was not drafted by Brian Callahan, the first head coach. So the question I have for you, Tim, is, hey, it's the Bills leading here 10-3 at the half. I mean, would Callahan pull the ripcord if, like, you got your quarterback Levis doing nothing here and see a QB switch?
I think Callahan has no problem doing that because it's not his guy. But I think that, like, once you take away, it happened with Bryce Young in Carolina. Like, once you take away the guy that they're invested in draft capitally, like, you don't recover from that as one, as a player, and two, how do you gain that trust back from that guy? Like, Nathan Peterman of all people started over Josh Allen. until he didn't. Like, that job was never going back to Nathan Peterman. But if you start with guys, if they started the season with Mason Rudolph and then you go to Levis, I think that you can pull that off and make it work. But if you take it away from their first-round pick and give it to journeyman Mason Rudolph, I don't think you can conceivably go back and expect to be successful with Will Levis once it's time for him to actually take the reins.
Yeah, Tennessee, they've lost a few close ones, and that's why a lot of people are saying, take the Titans with the points here. Their record is 1-4. Their point differential on the season is -14. Think about that. 1-4 record, point differential is only 2 touchdowns combined. That's kind of odd.
They're Faith said that they were a good 1-4, I believe, but they've lost to some pretty rough teams within that. They blew the doors off the Dolphins. They've lost by a possession to 3 other teams, and then the Packers kind of beat up on them. The point differential really is just separated by, like, the Packers was a 16-point loss. The Dolphins was a 19-point victory. Everything else is 7 or less. So they've been competitive, but I don't think they're actually a good 1-4.
The Guardians have runners on first and second. Little bloop hit there, Tim. I will commend you because when the Mets were playing the Braves or when the Mets were I was totally like, Danger, I'm watching. You do the show here without me. You're focused. You are into us. You're talking Buffalo Bills football. This game is on TBS. Here's a life hack for anybody that has Fubo. You can watch this game. Did you know that?
I don't have Fubo, so I don't have to worry.
I think you can watch it on YouTube, too. Well, I don't get TBS. No, you don't get TBS. But you can watch the Spanish broadcast. You can watch it in Espanol. Do you really need the announcers? No, you just want to watch what's going on here.
I think it might be more interesting to listen in Spanish than English.
I just came across it by accident, so the other night. I'm like, okay, that's kind of doable. So Guardians need this one here today. Yeah, so that's kind of your top story here. And, Tim, the Bills, they have yet to put out their injury report. Huh. Oh, no, they do have it. My apologies. I didn't see it. Let's kind of peruse here. Your Thursday injury report for the Buffalo Bills. So limited today. Ray Davis was limited with a calf. That's not good. Gilliam with a hamstring. Hollins was limited. Taron Johnson still listed as limited. Dalton Kincaid as a collarbone, limited. Ed Oliver out there, limited. Everybody else was full with the exception of Daquan Jones, but that was just veterans rest. So my read on this, a lot of injury fog on that, and particularly with the one thing I didn't kind of get to, James Cook. Let's just make sure we get the correct thing on James Cook.
I don't think he's been listed at all.
James Cook was a full participant today. Okay, so that tells you everything you need to know with the toe injury, that James Cook is good to go. So for everybody that picked up Ray Davis in your fantasy league, sorry. Although he's looked
questionable
really good.
too, actually.
Yeah, no, he was limited today, as we mentioned there. So that's your Buffalo Bills injury report. The Browns today, hey, don't worry about Deshaun Watson. Don't worry about us trading our top receiver, even though he's not having a good year. Don't worry about any of that. We're going to build a dome.
40 minutes away from where they are, which win, lose, phrase it how you want.
So the Browns had this strategy, and the strategy was this. They had 2 parallel plans, like they were going to pit one against the other. One being a domed stadium in the suburbs. And the domed stadium has all the crappy renderings that you would kind of expect, like every other sports artist rendering that you've ever seen before. Okay, great. Let's go watch the Browns game in the suburbs. The other one was, hey, we're going to redevelop here downtown, but we're going to need the help of the city. Well, I don't think this is a surprise whatsoever. The Browns today, I'm informing the city, yeah, you know what? We're going to go with the domed stadium plan, which got the city all kind of upset. Tim, I don't even want to say this is at first base. Like, this is a wish until you actually get the funding here for said stadium, until you actually have a plan where you're just throwing out mumbo-jumbo like private-public partnership. No, how much is it going to cost and who's paying for it? Those are the key elements that the Browns haven't kind of mentioned, and it's kind of just a wish at this point.
Yeah, it's a 5-year plan for something 5 years away. They literally they laid the groundwork for what they would like to do, And whether or not that comes to fruition, who knows? But I do know that if they don't get their stadium wish in the suburb, they won't actually leave this time like they did 30 years ago. So at least
You don't think so?
No. Twice in one city that isn't Seattle or St. Louis, rather.
Okay, you really trust your owner, Haslam. Oh, and the Yankees get out of it. Listen to Tim Schneider's frustration.
Bummer.
Hey, it's a long game. We go to the second. No score between the Guardians and Yankees.
Gotta cash in with second and third, or at least with 2 on. Come on. Oh well. Whole lot of ball left.
Okay, would you like to retire at age 55?
I'd like to retire at age 35.
I knew that was coming. But if you could. For somebody at the top of his profession, this came out of nowhere today. And it's actually kind of making me sad because I'm going to romanticize about college basketball for a second. And you're a college basketball fan.
Yes.
But the days of the showman head coach, the guy who could just lord over the program, who was actually bigger than the program. And I'm talking about your Roy Williams, your Rick Pitino's, your Jim Boeheim for a certain extent. We all know Boeheim's warts. Coach K, as much as we disliked him.
Bobby Knight.
Those guys gone. Because what has happened is with NIL, the coach isn't as important as the talent on the team. That is now a fact. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with NIL. I don't know if it has anything to do with family. I don't know what the reason is, but I would like to know why Virginia men's basketball coach Tony Bennett announced his immediate retirement. The official announcement will be coming from the school tomorrow. I'm sure we might get a press conference. They just had the media day down into the ACC. You're just on the edge of the season. Or is this just somebody who, I can't do this anymore. I can't travel. I don't like this team. I quit. I know a Division III coach who did that, and he did it with the agenda that
They've said that it is not health related, according to Jeff Goodman. So
okay, well that's good.
Progress.
That's good. I don't want to hear that. Now,
and he signed a big deal, or not a big deal, but a large extension within the last couple of years too. So strange,
nefarious.
Yeah.
TBD. It's also like you get a move like this, you would get a honk in college basketball, Jay Billis, who would be like, I talked to Coach Bennett, and the reason is blah, 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 blah. Have we heard any reason? Like why Tony Bennett all of a sudden today, as the season's getting ready to go, like, yeah, you know what, I'm done. What?
Very strange.
What?
And it kind of leaves, with how fluid things are in college athletics now, it doesn't really leave the program in shambles. But that could have an immediate impact. Like with the way that the portal works, some people be like, I'm here for him. If he's not here, why am I here? And then they're gone.
Now, there was a quote, and this is also part of this too. What do you think the media is like in Charlottesville? I don't think there's anybody like really digging it. Yeah, pretty generous, pretty this. Maybe this was known down there, and everybody kept it hush-hush because there was I don't know who asked the question, but at ACC Media Day last week, he was asked the question, could he be the next Jay Wright and abruptly retire? And he responded and said, quote, I got to call Jay Wright and see what he says. So by answering snarkily like that, somebody knew that this was going on in his mind. So I guess that kind of, in a roundabout way, answers this. This is just a new Jay Wright thing. It's just the timing is, you couldn't be worse for your team here. I say that. Maybe he's got a guy that, on the roster right now, okay, here, hey, take the keys, I'm done. Also, too, the pressures of being a head coach at any level, and whether that's in college or the pros, because right now the lines are really blurred. Again, they say it's not for his health, but at age 55 to kind of walk away. And the thing was with Jay Wright, too, I figured he would have been back in by now.
Yeah, well, it's funny because there's a lot of coaches, maybe not locally, but like within our coverage area that like you wonder how long they're going to stick around for, and like if somebody questions them, does that make you want to stick around longer? Like when you say like how long you got left in you, if you say like I'm done today, like that's breaking news. So it's like I'm gonna keep that to myself, and I'm gonna decide when I want to. I'm not gonna decide when somebody asks. You know what I mean? Like if I say, Gene, when are you gonna hang up the boots? Like I don't know. I'm gonna go longer now because you asked.
Yeah, how some reporter might have gotten wind of this if Bennett was telling, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this," and it could be a scenario like, "Okay, think about it, but let's not do anything rash. Let's give this a month." I mean, are there bigger decisions in life than to walk away like that?
With the money in his pocket, no, it's a little bit different.
I would say yes, and here's why. Like, what is a big decision in your life? Asking somebody to marry me. Okay, if you consider that a big decision, like you should know. There shouldn't be like any question, right? Like, if you have questions in your mind, then don't do it. All right, that's Uncle Gino's advice over here. Right? Like, there shouldn't be any. Should be like, yep, let's do it. To walk away, it's not like you can pick up the phone. Well, I say that. And, John Sterling on the call for the New York Yankees. Well, okay, come on back. Kick out the guys who took over.
Very strange. I asked a couple of very, very hardcore Yankees fans why he would do that. And, I thought it was disrespectful. But apparently they didn't hire a full-time replacement. They were just using a bunch of different people.
Wait a second. Stop. You mean in our business they would just buy time and
I can't believe it either.
I cannot believe they would do such a thing. Top of the second, no score between the Guardians and the Yankees. You know what happens when you and I have such a good time? We just kind of blew right through a commercial break.
Yeah, so
we got it.
Let's
do it. We'll be right back here. It is the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester.
Update.
Bills bringing a kicker to the practice squad today. His new name is Lucas Havershik, as the Bills working out today. Good news on the practice report. James Cook was a full participant. Amari Cooper, well, is he going to play on Sunday?
I don't know. It's uncharted territory for me. This is definitely new for me. But at the end of the day, it's just football, you know. I think I'm a pretty cerebral guy, at least cerebral enough to learn the playbook as fast as I can.
Bills and Titans, our coverage will begin at 9 a.m., kickoff at 1 Sunday here on the Fan. Rochester baseball. Jose Trevino with an RBI single. Yankees still at bat. They're leading 1-0 in the top of the second. Game 4 Dodgers-Mets tonight at 8:08. We'll have the Sabres second time as many nights tonight. They play in Columbus at 7 p.m. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
From the field to the court to the rink, the sports leader is there. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
This inning could be more for the Yankees. What was that? Because I was doing the update there. Was that a base running gap again by the Yankees, Tim?
I did not catch who it was. I believe it was Jose Trevino.
Yeah, he was the guy
picked
in
off
first.
at first base,
Oh.
and that's an out. We're good. They
It's
ran themselves out of the
that
inning, and the guy
right-
on third didn't go.
Okay, so if Trevino doesn't get picked
That's a
off
run,
at
yep.
first, that's a run because that was just a fly out to left. So, as they would say when a kicker misses an extra point, file that one away. Yankees leading 1-0 against Cleveland. Still a long game, Tim, but this is what I love about baseball. You're in the second inning. If it's the month of May in the second inning, I don't care who the opponent is. You don't care. You're
No,
just,
this
background
game
noise.
doesn't matter in May. This game doesn't matter in June. Probably July, maybe even August.
Yeah.
But right now, especially with the circumstances that the Guardians are in, they absolutely need this one. And had they given up more than one, actually, this still might be it. But with 2 runs or more scored by the Yankees there, it would have been like, all right, pack it in and good season.
Yeah, I've said this earlier. I feel like the walls are closing in on the Mets. I really do. When you get Yoshinobu Yamamoto tonight, and then you're going to get Flaherty back-to-back games. That's why you had to beat Walker Buehler. And everybody, oh, what a great game by Walker Buehler, blah, 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 blah. You put runners on base. He was walking people. Yes, he struck out some people and made some outs, but you had opportunities last night, and don't be fooled by the final score. I mean, that was a game until it went off the rails there, obviously, at the end.
Yeah, it was competitive until it wasn't. When Ohtani went deep, it was like, let's try again tomorrow.
I was click. And that does not make me a bad fan, does it? I'm sorry. If you need to get your rest and it's a 7-0 game and you realize it's not going to happen.
Not a bad fan. No, I wouldn't have done it, but not a bad fan because it's over. Like, why be miserable for another half hour if you don't have to be?
Yeah.
I mean, me as miserable sports fan, or at least team enjoyer of teams that make me miserable, I'm going to sit through the whole thing just because I hate myself. So it's fine. But I get it. Like, especially you've got to get up in the morning. I didn't have to get up until this afternoon. So
you live
not
like
this afternoon, but you know what I mean.
You live like a king. Tim Schneider in for Danger today. Danger's going to be back tomorrow. Hey, we've got Sabres hockey tonight. They play in Columbus.
What do they do?
Yeah. It's funny how maybe your sports feed, because I watch sports and I have to look at X. I'm just kind of addicted to it. I cannot, because I want that real feedback. What am I seeing? I want takes. I want everything else. And well, tonight, like when we first started the show, Tim, we would put out these polls. What you watching? Okay, we haven't talked about this game all that much. We've got Broncos and Saints tonight to kick off Week 7.
Matters.
You've got Game 4 Dodgers Mets, and who knows how long this Yankee game is going to go.
Forever.
I'm sorry, number 4 on the list is Sabres hockey tonight. That's just kind of a fact, but your perception's kind of skewed because you're friends of the show and you're following Sabres reporters, and they're all reporting from Pittsburgh. I'm like, well, I can't tell you much about the Sabre game last night other than it sounded very Sabre-ish to score some goals and give up more, and then in the end lose and just give away a point.
0 for 15 so far on the power play. Last night, I believe they allowed 2 shorthanded goals and an empty netter. Things are not looking good in Buffalo land at the moment. Things also not looking great in Cleveland land. So it's really just a great time to be me.
Yeah, it's well, at least let's bring it back to baseball here. If you're a Met fan or a Guardian fan and this is the end of the line, are you allowed just to think about the good times and recalibrate? Meaning, hey, for the Mets to get in, to win the way they did over Milwaukee, and to stick it to Philadelphia, is it wrong for me to say that's a good season? Because ultimately you're going to fall short of your goal by 2 steps here. The goal is to win the World Series. And Tim, I'll let you answer the Guardians thing, but it's all about expectation. That's the short answer to this. Because if the Buffalo Bills this year, say in the divisional round through some weird circumstance, they beat the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs in the postseason. We thought we couldn't do this, and then they lose in the AFC Championship game. Well, that's not a good year.
No, it's not.
No, you got to get to somewhere you haven't been. It's like going up the ladder here. So, to me, it's all about the expectation. The expectation of the Buffalo Bills is, yes, we can see with our own 2 eyes that this roster isn't as good as it's been on in recent years. But you do have Josh Allen. You still have a lot of talent on this team, and you play in an El Crapo division. So, with all that being said, the expectation should be this team, even though you're not as good roster-wise, our expectation is Super Bowl. That's it. Anything else, we're going to be like, Now that just brings me back to the Mets. It's like, okay, if this is the end of the line, I don't feel so bad. Now, we get to next year, and they make a free agent signing, and you get to the same point, it's going to be a different story. For you, the Guardian fan, Tim, I can't put words in your mouth, but the fact that you beat Detroit, you won the division, I don't think there's any shame if you lose to the Yankees.
They got farther than they were supposed to go, but they have been not even competitive so far in this series. I mean, this game is early, and all it takes is one strong inning in a playoff game. But through 2 full innings here, they got the first 2 base runners on to start the game, and they have not done anything since. And they just not gifted, but that was an uncompetitive bottom of the second there, outside of the warning track flyout.
Yeah,
this is it's been a struggle of a week for Guardians fans against the Yankees, especially in enemy territory. So I'm prepared to spend the next 3 hours of my life being absolutely miserable wherever I end up watching this game.
Fantastic. We've got last call here. This is last call, by the way.
We got about 90 seconds. Maybe, no, we got 2.5 minutes, so we're good.
Okay. A little different there between 2.5 90 seconds.
Just 60.
Yeah. 866-4FAN, 866-4326 if you want to have the last word here in the sports bar tomorrow on the show. Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy. We're lucky enough to talk to Andy, the fantasy expert from Yahoo, will be joining us at 3:25. We'll also talk to Elena Getzenberg, talk some Buffalo Bills football at 4:25 p.m. as where do the Bills go for the kicker? Interesting thing is, it's one of those, hey, we're going to announce this on Saturday, who we're elevating from the practice squad the day before the game. So that would be something if they brought this kicker in. That's the one position, Tim, that I will listen to Amari Cooper needs time to learn the playbook. Yes, that's absolutely true, but that doesn't mean he can't learn like 3 plays.
At minimum, he's already the 3rd best receiver on this team just based on pure talent. So throw him out there. Maybe not a full slate of snaps, but give him about 1/3 of the game offensively and make him 3 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. He's a superstar in Buffalo already.
I want to know, because we all do this at work, right? Hey, there's a project, there's some big presentation. You may not like it, but you're working after hours. Is Josh Allen working after hours with Amari Cooper this week? Are they working in the field house, to 9 or 10 o'clock at night, just going over? I would hope so.
If I'm Amari Cooper, I'm asking, hey, Josh, you mind if you have a roommate for a couple of days and they hammer out the playbook? I mean, Josh Allen's a superstar. He knows what he has to do. If a guy reaches out to him and say, hey, let's get on the same page, I want to be a winner. I just came from loser Cleveland. If I'm Josh Allen, working my ass off.
I would think this is an opportunity for Josh Allen, who I would say, and anybody wants to disagree with me on this, go right ahead. He's taking the high road when it's come to the Diggs thing. The bait has been there. He has not taken it. But now, this would be the way to kind of answer. You're putting up points. You're winning games. You're doing it with somebody else. And you get a Shakir back that's healthy. Khalil Shakir also, healthy player too. So, good on the practice report today. So we'll be talking Buffalo Bills football with you. Sabres hockey coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. But as we like to joke here in the sports bar, listen anyways. Yankees up 1-0 on the Guardians as they are in the top of the 3rd. Tim, it's always fun having you in here.
Love doing it. Hope to do it again soon.
Yeah, let's send you off. The JR Sport Brief coming your way next.
You're listening to